Chapter 526. Jun Lan was shocked when she heard that Sima Yue was looking for her. The auction for the new dagger was already over. Why did she come looking for him instead of going back to admire the things she had bought? However, even though she was surprised, she still went to meet Sima Yue. Yue, why are you looking for me? Jun Lan asked when she saw Sima Yue's anxious expression. When Sima Yue saw Jun Lan enter, she didn't beat around the bush and asked, "Do you know who the divine sand belongs to? You're interested in that thing?" Jun Lan looked at her in surprise. Sima Yue nodded. She looked at Jun Lan and said sincerely, "Please tell me that this thing is very important to me." "That's a friend of my great-uncle's," Jun Lan said. "But I've never seen that person before." "You haven't seen him before?" Sima Yue was shocked. Didn't they say that she and Jun Tian were in charge of this auction? How could she not have seen such a special guest before? Understanding Sima Yue's thoughts, Jun Lan said helplessly, "Although the divine sand was confirmed before the auction, we never saw the real thing. It was my great-uncle's idea, so it was included in the list. That thing was brought back by my great-uncle on the eve of the auction." Her great-great-uncle was Jun Song. Sima Yue was silent for a moment. She raised her head and said, "Jun Lan, can you introduce me to that master? I want to meet him." "Is that thing really that important to you?" Jun Lan couldn't bear to reject Sima Yue when she saw how anxious she was. "This concerns the lives of my family members," Sima Yue said. "I'll give it a try. It might not succeed," Jun Lan said. "I heard from my great-uncle that that person's health isn't very good, so he might not agree to meet you. But I will try my best to speak for you." Sima Yue bowed to Jun Lan and said, "I can't thank you enough. If I need Yue in the future, Yue will definitely not refuse." "Why are you saying all this?" Jun Lan glared at Sima Yue. "I haven't even thanked you for saving my life. Wait here for a moment. I'll go talk to my great-uncle." "Sorry to trouble you," Sima Yue said. Jun Lan left the living room, leaving Sima Yue waiting anxiously. She knew that a lot of people would leave after the auction to avoid being targeted. Therefore, she wasn't sure if the owner of the divine sand would leave immediately. If he left, it would be troublesome for her to find him again. After waiting for a long time, Jun Lan finally returned. When she saw Sima Yue, she said, "That person agreed to meet you, but he said that he can only meet you alone. He won't meet anyone else." Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu and the others and said, "I can go alone. Senior, Big Brother Qin, Shameless Third, you guys go back first." Wu Lingyu looked at her worriedly. She didn't know who the other party was. If she went alone, she didn't know if something would happen. But they all knew Sima Yue's personality. Once she made up her mind, even 9 bulls wouldn't be able to pull her back. "We'll wait for you here." Third Emo was also worried. "My great-uncle said that that person isn't in Xianyuan Pavilion, so if Yue comes back, she won't come here either." "You guys should go back and wait," Jun Lan said. "Yue, let's go." Sima Yue nodded at them and left with Jun Lan. They didn't go outside. Instead, they went to the backyard of Xianyuan Pavilion and used a transportation array to leave the city. When Sima Yue opened her eyes again, she was already in a quiet and unique small courtyard. The courtyard was so big, but there wasn't a single person's voice. It seemed cold and cheerless. She still hadn't recovered from her dizziness when Jun Song appeared in the courtyard at some point. "This is the benefactor you were talking about?" Jun Song looked at Sima Yue and asked. "Yes, great-uncle." Jun Lan nodded. "This junior greets Pavilion Master Jun." Sima Yue bowed to Jun Song. "I've already talked to her. She said that she'll give you a few minutes." Jun Song said, "Come with me." After speaking, he turned and left. Sima Yue hurriedly followed, while Jun Lan waited for them at the same spot. Without permission, no one was allowed to enter that courtyard. Jun Lan remembered this rule. Sima Yue followed behind Jun Song. She could feel that his aura was getting heavier as he walked, as if he had something on his mind. "She doesn't like crowds." "I won't go in." "You can go in," Jun Song said. Sima Yue was curious about the identity of the person inside. Why did she feel that Jun Song was that person's subordinate? But looking at Jun Lan, She shouldn't be someone from Xian Yuan Pavilion. Uncle Tsang said that someone wants to see me. It should be you. Cough 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 cough. Sima Yue heard a pleasant voice the moment she stepped into the courtyard. But before that person finished speaking, she started coughing. It sounded like she was seriously ill. Illness Sima Yue didn't know when she had seen someone sick. Because no one who cultivated would get sick. Some would only get injured. She walked around the flowers in the courtyard and saw a chaise lounge in the pavilion. A beautiful woman was lying on the chaise lounge. The woman's face was abnormally red. She must have coughed just now and caused the blood to rush to her head, causing her face to turn crimson. After coughing for a while, that woman raised her head. She looked at Sima Yue with a strange gaze. Then she smiled gently. "Miss, why are you looking for me?" Sima Yue was shocked. She looked at that woman with caution. She was clearly wearing an illusion ring. How could she tell that she was a woman at a glance? That woman didn't say anything about Sima Yue's caution. She calmed her breathing and said, "Don't be afraid. I don't have any thoughts about you. Speaking of which, you're the one who wants to see me. You're here for the sand of God." Sima Yue looked at that woman. She felt that she had an unusual aura. At least in her previous life, she had never met anyone who gave off this kind of aura. "You're sick." Sima Yue didn't reveal her purpose. She just blurted out this sentence. That woman tidied up her pure white dress. There was still a trace of blood on it. She had coughed just now. Hearing Sima Yue's words, she was stunned. Then she smiled and said, "Yes, I'm sick. My illness is incurable." "I've never heard of cultivators getting sick." Sima Yue didn't understand. "Now you've seen it." That woman mocked herself. "If you're here today for the god's sand, please leave. Other than the god's scar, I won't trade for anything else." "You want the god's scar to cure your illness, right?" Sima Yue asked. "That's right. But you should know that the god's scar is just a legend in ancient books. No one has ever seen it. It doesn't even exist." Disappointment flashed across that woman's eyes. Although it was fleeting, Sima Yue caught it. Chapter 527. Cough 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 cough. The woman had finally rested for a while, but now she started coughing again. Moreover, the coughing was so severe that she sat up from the chair. She didn't know if it was because of what Sima Yue said. Sima Yue couldn't bear to see her like this. She went up and patted her back, hoping to calm her down. After a while, the woman finally caught her breath and stopped coughing. "Are you all right?" Sima Yue felt an inexplicable heartache when she saw a stunning beauty coughing like this and even bleeding. After thinking for a while, she took out a cup of spirit fruit juice and handed it to the woman. "Drink some of this." The woman raised her head and looked at Sima Yue. Seeing the sincere concern in her eyes, she smiled and took the spirit fruit juice. Then she took a small sip. He thought that it would quench his thirst and calm his nerves. Unexpectedly, his throat felt much better after drinking it. He didn't feel like coughing anymore. This was the most comfortable time he had felt in so many years. "This can relieve your cough. Try drinking more," Sima Yue said when she saw her stop after taking a small sip. The woman took another sip before asking, "What is this?" "The fruit juice from the spirit fruit has the effect of moisturizing the throat. I also added some herbs in it," Sima Yue explained. She had asked Little Spirit to make this, so when she took it out, it was still freshly squeezed and tasted pretty good. "This is even more effective than those pills," the woman said with a smile. Sima Yue looked at her smile and felt that she was a very comfortable woman. Just looking at her made one feel happy. It was a pity that her sickly pale face was pitiful. "How did you get sick?" It was strange that a cultivator could fall sick. "Can I have a look?" "You're a doctor?" The woman was a little surprised, but she quickly regained her calm demeanor. "You should be a doctor. But you're still too young. I've seen at least 800 doctors with this body of mine, if not 1,000, but I'm still like this. Since you've already seen so many people, you don't mind seeing one more, right?" Sima Yue said. The woman looked into Sima Yue's eyes and lay back down, saying, "You're right. I'll have to trouble you then." Sima Yue took out a chair and sat down beside the woman. She began to examine her body. Feng Hanyan. The woman looked at Sima Yue's serious expression and suddenly said. Sima Yue was stunned. She immediately understood that she was talking about her name. She did not expect her to have such a beautiful name. Sima Yue, she replied. People from the Sima clan? I came from the Yilin continent. Sima Yue replied. She knew that the Sima family that Feng Ruyen was talking about was definitely not the Sima family from the lower continent. Feng Ruyen nodded and did not say anything else. After a while, Sima Yue retracted her hand. She frowned and looked at Feng Ruyen suspiciously. Did my body scare you? Feng Ruyen saw Sima Yue's expression. She was neither surprised nor disappointed. It was as if she had expected her reaction. You're not sick, Sima Yue said confidently. Feng Ruyen smiled. She did not confirm nor deny. But your body is very strange. It's as if your internal organs are not working. Sima Yue continued. A doctor once told me that if I tried to slow down my internal organs, I can prolong my life. Feng Ruyen did not hide it. Her internal organs were actually working. It was just that they were very slow. It was so slow that she could not feel it. Sima Yue was stunned. How powerful was she to be able to make her body work like this? You were injured before and have not recovered. It seems like something rushed into your body. Sima Yue said, but you sealed it into your internal organs. That's why I can't see it. Feng Ruyen then looked at Sima Yue. She did not expect her medical skills to be so good. She did not say the reason why her body was not well, but Yue was able to see it. I don't know which quack gave you the idea to seal that aura in your internal organs. It's obvious that you want to drag this sickly body of yours forever. Sima Yue said angrily, because of this, you can't get it out even if you want to. You can only seal it in your body and slowly eat away at your life force. Feng Ruyen smiled. If that person knew that he was called a quack, she wondered what kind of expression he would have. The situation is urgent. There's no other way. She still defended that person. But this will be troublesome. Sima Yue said. Hearing her words, Feng Ruyen's eyes flashed. You have a way? Your situation is similar to my brother's, but your situation is worse than his. Sima Yue sighed and said, it's really giving me a headache. Feng Ruyen smiled sincerely. It was different from the smile that always hung on her face. This time, it came from the bottom of her heart. That helpless look of hers was rather cute. How long has it been since someone dared to show such an expression in front of her? Or rather, how long has it been since someone dared to show any expression in front of her? No matter if it was fear, worry, or anything else, none of them. Then do you have a way? She asked. I don't have a way to cure it, but I can think of a way to suppress it. Sima Yue said, at least you won't feel so uncomfortable. Use this? Feng Ruyen raised the cup in her hand. Unknowingly, she had already finished the fruit juice. Sima Yue shook her head. This can only temporarily relieve the discomfort in your throat. It can't suppress your situation. You have to use other methods. How can I believe you? Feng Ruyen asked. Sima Yue looked at Feng Ruyen and said, I need the divine sand. Save your brother? Feng Ruyen was not angry at her straightforward words and said with certainty. Sima Yue nodded her head. You are an honest lady. Feng Ruyen said, if you can cure my illness, I will give you the divine sand. Sima Yue looked at Feng Ruyen awkwardly. Aren't you making things difficult for me? I already said that I haven't thought of a way to cure you. Moreover, your situation is so complicated. If I cure you and then save my brother, I will be worried about my brother. How can I be at ease to save you? Feng Ruyen was just casually saying it. She knew her current situation. Other than the divine scar, there was no other way. Moreover, she could feel that her body was getting weaker and weaker. Who knows when she would reach the end? Stay by my side. If you can't cure me, you can still get the divine sand after I die. I won't. I will definitely save you. Sima Yue said with a resolute gaze. Chapter 528. Feng Ruyen looked at her bright eyes and felt as if something had struck her heart. Why? Why was he so determined to save her? They didn't seem to have any interactions. Sima Yue was also stunned. That's right, why did I have such a strong desire to save this woman? Just as she said, if he followed her even if she died, he would still be able to obtain the divine sand. But why didn't she want her to die? Could it be that she was so used to pretending to be a man that she fell in love with beautiful women? It shouldn't be, right? She couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth as she quickly denied her own thoughts. When Feng Ruyen saw Sima Yue's expression, her smile deepened. If you can suppress my illness, I will give you the divine sand. She found that she really liked the girl in front of her. Okay. Sima Yue nodded. She could accept this. She was confident that she could suppress Feng Ruyen's illness. Feng Ruyen closed her eyes and said, I'm tired. Then rest well. I need to make some preparations. I'll come and treat you in 2 days. Sima Yue said. All right. When Sima Yue saw that Feng Ruyen was about to fall asleep, she sighed and took out a cup of fruit juice mixed with herbs. She gently placed it by the side and turned to leave. Once she left, Feng Ruyen opened her eyes and looked at the cup of fruit juice. Her lips curled into a smile, but before she could say anything, she started coughing again. After coughing for a while, she felt that her internal organs were about to be coughed out. Thinking of the fruit juice that Sima Yue had left for her, she took a sip while coughing. Unknowingly, a few women appeared beside Feng Ruyen. Your Honor, you should return as soon as possible. The woman in the lead advised. Why should I go back? Feng Ruyen felt that her throat felt better and stopped coughing. She laid back down and said, It's the same if we go back. We might as well stay outside and feel more comfortable. Who knows when I'll be gone? I'll take this opportunity to take a good look at this world. Hearing her words, the women all knelt down and said in unison, Senior will definitely be safe and sound. Life and death are predestined. Feng Ruyen said indifferently, Everyone, get up. Your Honor, will Sima Yue really have a solution? The woman in the lead asked. Feng Jiao, look at her, how old can she be? Feng Ruyen asked. He should be in his 20s, Feng Jiao replied. For someone in their 20s to have her current medical skills, it is already amazing. Feng Ruyen said. She then thought of how she scolded quacks and laughed. If Lord Jean knew that he was scolded as a quack by a 20-over-year-old girl, I wonder how he would react. Feng Jiao seemed to know what Feng Ruyen was laughing about and laughed as well. That's right. If Jean knew about it, he would be so angry that he would stomp his feet. Feng Ruyen said. Then, Your Honor, do you really want her to treat you? Feng Ruyen placed the cup in her hand to the side, closed her eyes and didn't reply. She only said, Go investigate her. Seeing that Feng Ruyen closed her eyes, Feng Jiao waved her hands at those women and the group of people disappeared silently. After Sima Yue returned, she told them about Feng Ruyen's situation. She wanted to see if they knew who she was, but Third Mo and Wu Lingyu had never heard of such a person. Seeing that they didn't know, Sima Yue didn't think about this problem anymore. The most important thing now was to suppress her illness and then exchange for the god's sand to suppress Shimin Feng's condition and prolong his life. She went to find Shimin Feng and asked about Kong Sangyi. Shimin Feng said with certainty that even if Kong Sangyi knew about the spirit pagoda, he wouldn't say anything. That night, Third Mo came to find her and said that he was preparing to go to Kong Valley. Sima Yue saw his frown and knew that he was thinking about the ore that she bid for. She thought for a while and said, I know a place that can let you start without any distractions. But Third Mo asked. Sima Yue closed the door and with a thought, she brought him into the spirit pagoda. Third Mo had heard of this divine weapon before. Although he was shocked, he quickly accepted it and happily said that if he was here, no matter how powerful that thing was, he wouldn't be afraid. Sima Yue saw his happy expression and said, You stay here and study how to open the ore. I'll bring them in. After that, she brought everyone in, including Kong Sangyi. Knowing that Third Mo was going to open the ore, everyone was excited. Only Wu Lingyu was faintly angry. Others already knew, but he only knew. It seemed like his position in her heart wasn't high enough. After staying inside for a day, Third Mo said that he had thought of a way to open the ore. Thus, a group of people surrounded him and watched as he took out the tools to open the ore. Then he thought for half an hour before opening the ore. Then he thought for another half an hour before opening the ore again. Because this ore was too complicated, Third Mo couldn't grasp the situation inside. He chose the safest way to open the ore and peeled off the outer layer of the ore. The deeper they went, the more nervous everyone became. The ore that was originally half a person's height had already been peeled off and was only a foot tall. It was coming out. After Third Mo peeled off the outer layer of the ore, they could faintly see a green light. Everyone knew that the spirit ore was coming out. Everyone held their breaths and watched as Third Mo peeled off the rest. When the outer layer of the ore was peeled off, everyone saw the true appearance of the spirit ore. A thin layer of the spirit ore wrapped around a small golden snake that was a foot long. That small snake's eyes were closed and it gave people the feeling that it was asleep. Suddenly, the color of the spirit ore quickly faded and the spirit energy inside disappeared. The spirit ore cracked and the small golden snake inside suddenly opened its eyes, shooting out a cold gaze. However, that gaze disappeared in a flash and the small snake revealed a confused look. A small snake? Is this an immemorial small snake? Fatty Chu looked at the small snake and said in surprise. His words seemed to have startled the small snake. It moved its body and struggled out of the cracked spirit ore. Looking at the people around it, its eyes revealed an ominous glint. The little snake spat out its tongue. Looking at so many people, its eyes were cold, and there was an innate arrogance in its eyes. The small snake looked around and fixed its gaze on Third Mo, who was closest to it. "Be careful!" Sima Yue shouted at Third Mo, wanting to let little spirit separate the small snake. However, she realized that the small snake had disappeared in a flash. Soundless. Wu Lingyu, Qin Mo and the rest frowned. Even they didn't know where the small snake went. Woo woo woo. Just when the atmosphere was incomparably tense, a whimpering sound suddenly entered everyone's ears, causing their scalps to go numb. It was only then that everyone realized that the little snake was coiled around Sima Yu's neck. Its head, which was the size of a finger, was rubbing against Sima Yu's face. It let out the woo-woo sound as tears fell onto her face. At this moment, she didn't move at all and her entire body was frozen. Chapter 529. Sima Yue felt goosebumps all over her body when she heard the cries and felt the wetness on her face. First edition, she didn't know how the little snake got to her neck, but she felt a chill on her neck. The little snake had already wrapped itself around her neck. Ooh! The little snake's cries became louder and louder. Her tears kept falling. Sima Yue looked at her and felt that she was very sad. Everyone was stunned by this scene. They thought that this thing would hurt people or escape, but they didn't expect this situation. After a while, they saw that the little snake was just crying and had no intention of hurting Sima Yue. Only then did they feel slightly relieved. No matter how I look at it, the way it looks at Yue is as if Yue had once abandoned it. Wei Ziqi said, "That's right. I was wondering why it looked at Yue so strangely. It didn't look like it was looking at a stranger. It looked more like it was looking at its former owner. It was the kind of look a pet would give to its owner after being abandoned." Everyone felt the same way. Even Sima Yue felt guilty from the way Sima Yue looked at her, as if she had really abandoned her. Little fellow, did you get the wrong person?" Sima Yue saw that the little golden snake had no intention of harming her, so she reached out to stroke the little snake's head and comforted it. Who knew that when she said that, the little snake cried even harder. Its tail kept hitting her body, and its head kept rubbing against her face. Woo 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 woo. She looked so sad that Sima Yue's heart almost melted. She quickly comforted her, "Don't cry, don't cry. I won't leave you alone in the future." Actually, it wasn't that she was soft-hearted, but she felt that this little fellow was about to go berserk. Now that it was on her neck, what if it used all its strength and strangled her to death? When the little snake heard her say that, it stared at her with its big teary eyes, as if trying to discern the truth. "Really, really?" Sima Yue promised. "Ooh, After confirming that she wasn't lying, the little snake rubbed against her face again. Sima Yue's hair stood on end. She was afraid that Sima Yue would bite her to death if she was careless. She slowly reached out her hand, wanting to remove the little fellow from her neck. However, she realized that the little fellow was wrapped around her neck and refused to budge. Being entangled by an ancient creature like this made her feel insecure. "I can't breathe with you like this. Can you come down first?" She tried to communicate with the little fellow. This little guy didn't know how to speak the human language. It didn't understand the human language. Woo-woo. The little snake whimpered and tilted its head to look at Sima Yue. It seemed to understand what she meant and let go of her neck. However, it did not come down. It hung around her neck like a golden collar and closed its eyes in satisfaction. "This guy is relying on Yue." Fatty Chu looked at it and laughed. Sima Yue didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This clearly belonged to Third Mo, but it seemed like he was trying to cling on to her. Shameless Third. Third Mo waved his hand and said, "Since it came to you, I'll give it to you." Shameless Third, how can you do that? Sima Yue shook her head. An ancient creature was not something that could be measured with tens of millions of crystal stones. Hiss. As if it felt Sima Yue's intention, the little fellow opened its eyes and stuck out its tongue at Third Mo. Its cold eyes stared at him fiercely. It looked like if he dared to take it, it would bite him to death. Third Mo looked at the little snake and spread his hands. Now, it wasn't a matter of whether he wanted it or not. It was a matter of whether the other party wanted it or not. "Didn't you give me something good too? If you feel embarrassed, you can brew more fruit wine for me." In order to make Sima Yue accept it, he said, "You have so many spirit fruits here. No wonder you have so many types of fruit wine." "Okay, I'll definitely let you drink enough." Sima Yue accepted Third Mo's kind intentions. This little fellow looked very fierce. She didn't know what would happen if she angered it. Thus, she decided to go along with it. She just didn't know if this fellow would leave after it was done staying by her side. She kept her thoughts and let everyone walk around. Those who wanted to go out were sent out. Then she went into the pill refining room. The little snake suddenly moved. Sima Yue felt that the cold feeling was gone. She looked up and saw that the little fellow had run to the shelf where the pills were placed. She saw it wrap around a pill bottle and plunge its head into the bottle. In the end, its mouth was too small and it couldn't pull its head out with the pill in it. Sima Yue immediately laughed. The fear she had towards it disappeared just like that. She walked over and broke the jade bottle to free it. If you like to eat pills, just tell me. I'll naturally give it to you. If you do something so embarrassing again, I won't care about you anymore." She reached out and poked the little fellow's head. Woo-woo. The little fellow shook its tail in protest. Sima Yue ignored it and turned to the table to arrange the medicinal ingredients. She said, "You can eat any of the pills here, but don't waste them for me." Hearing no sound behind her, she turned around and saw that the little fellow had finished a big bottle of pills in less than a minute. Seeing Sima Yue looking at it, it stopped and looked at her very innocently. "Luckily, I'm an alchemist. Luckily, there are enough medicinal ingredients in the spirit pagoda. Otherwise, how would it be enough for a little fellow like you?" Yu shook her head. "Little fellow, you're so small. I'll call you little fellow from now on." Hiss hiss. The little fellow glared at her in protest. "I don't want little fellow. Little fellow isn't domineering at all." Sima Yue understood its gaze. She smiled and said, "Your protest is invalid. I'm going to refine pills. Don't disturb me. Otherwise, I won't let you enter this room in the future." Hiss hiss. The little fellow hurriedly nodded, indicating that it wouldn't disturb her. Sima Yue looked at it and couldn't help but laugh. This little fellow clearly gave off a very dangerous feeling. Even Wu Lingyu had expressed that this little fellow made him feel a faint sense of fear. This meant that it should be very strong. Furthermore, it had the usual coldness of a snake. People couldn't help but keep a distance from it. However, this little fellow was very dependent on her. Thinking about how it cried at her just now, she touched her face. Could it be that she looked very similar to its previous owner? However, its previous owner was dead. It didn't die. This meant that there was no contract between them. If that was the case, then why did it cry so sadly when it saw her? Chapter 5:30. Since she could not figure it out, she was too lazy to think about it. However, she was a little worried that if the little fellow left her, she would be letting third Mo down. However, she was thinking too much. The little guy who was happily eating the pills didn't have any intention of leaving her. He was happy because he had so many pills to eat. Sima Yue found many herbs and refined 3 types of elixirs before leaving the spirit pagoda. Although the little fellow was very reluctant to part with those medicinal pills, but she had already left, so it could only bear the pain and leave. It wrapped around her arm like a wrist guard. Sometimes, when she had an idea, she would take out a pill to tempt it, teasing it before giving it to eat. Sima Yue stayed with everyone for 2 days. After she finished preparing everything, she went to Xianyuan Pavilion to look for Junlan. In these 2 days, Mo-san and Kong Sangyi returned to Kong Valley, while Shimin Feng was left behind by Sima Yue. Qin Mo also left. He still had matters to attend to in his clan and had to return to deal with them. He had to go back and make some preparations for Sima Yue's revenge. Although she said that she wanted to take revenge on her own, he still had to be prepared in case she needed it. Bei Gong Tang returned to Autumn Moon City. The matter between the Yin clan and the Bei Gong clan was not over yet. Her mother was still there, so she needed to go back and help. Ouyang Fei, the Sima family, and Honor Rock also went with them. They wanted to help Bei Gong Tang. Moreover, Sima Yue had already agreed to meet them in Tianfu City. Thus, only Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng were left by her side. Jun Lan had already received instructions from the other side and went to see her immediately. Seeing the 2 men beside her, she asked, "You're taking them there?" "Don't worry, I'll tell her," Sima Yue said. The reason why he brought Shimin Feng along was because he was afraid that Shimin Feng would be disobedient and run to the Zongjing clan for revenge. Then, he would use the power in his body, so it was best to bring him along. Wu Lingyu shamelessly followed them, saying that she was worried about them and wanted to go with them. Seeing that Sima Yue had already made up her mind, Jun Lan didn't say anything. She brought them to the courtyard in the suburbs using the transportation portal. Perhaps it was because they had brought people with them, but this time, someone stopped them. Feng Jiao looked at Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng with hostility, but because of Sima Yue, she didn't show anything. She just didn't allow them to enter the innermost courtyard. These 2 people can live in other courtyards, but they cannot go to his honor's courtyard. Feng Jiao said. Sima Yue immediately knew who His Excellency was. She thought that such a beautiful woman, even if she were to look at her from afar, she would feel that she was being blasphemous. "Okay." She nodded and glanced at Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng, saying, "You guys go rest with them. I'll go check on her." She went to Feng Ruyan's courtyard alone, and the first thing she heard was her suppressed coughing. She quickened her pace and walked over. It was still the same place, the same chaise lounge, and the same pale and thin figure. It was a heart-wrenching cough, as if she was going to cough out her internal organs. Sima Yue went forward and reached out her hand to Feng Ruyan's back. A stream of spirit energy was injected into her body, alleviating the discomfort in her body, allowing her to slowly stop coughing. Feng Ruyan stopped. The handkerchief in her hand was almost completely dyed red by the blood she coughed out. She threw the handkerchief to the side and smiled faintly. "You still have your ways. Why do I feel that your condition has worsened again?" Sima Yue frowned. The last time she came, her coughing wasn't this bad. How did her condition become so serious in just 2 days? Feng Ruyan didn't say that she used her spirit energy again yesterday. Every time she used it, it would be a death sentence, but yesterday's situation wasn't up to her. She didn't think that the other party would come looking for her, but she had already dealt with them, so there wouldn't be any danger for the time being. Sima Yue grabbed her hand and checked for her. Her face sunk. "You used your spirit energy yesterday?" Feng Ruyan nodded lightly. "You should know your condition. Every time you use your spirit energy, your body will become worse. Why did you still use it?" Sima Yue looked at her pale face and couldn't help but say what was in her heart. Hee hee. Feng Ruyen laughed softly. This was the first time she was cared for by someone she didn't know. It was purely caring for her body, unlike other people. Cough cough, don't worry. I won't die. Sima Yue didn't think that such words would come out of Feng Ruyen's mouth. She should be beautiful and not this kind of person who was filled with helplessness towards life. I'll suppress your condition first, she said with a sigh. Okay. Feng Ruyen smiled and looked at her. Sima Yue took out the pills she refined these 2 days and said, eat this first. I will perform acupuncture for you later. Sima Yue stayed in the courtyard for 1 day and 1 night. When Jun Song came to see Feng Ruyen, she was preparing to go back and rest with a tired face. Eat this. Feng Ruyen took out a pill and placed it in Sima Yue's hand. Her complexion was much better now. She wasn't as pale as before and wasn't as red as when she coughed. She looked like a normal person, as if her illness had already recovered. Sima Yue looked at the pill in her hand. The milky white pill had circles of pill markings on it. This meant that the pill's grade wasn't low. Aunt Feng, I am just a little tired. I will go back and rest. Such a precious pill, it's better to save it for when I need it urgently in the future. She put away the pill. She didn't eat it, but she didn't plan to return it. After interacting for a day and a night, the distance between the two of them was much closer. Feng Ruyen took the initiative to let her call her aunt, and the relationship between the two of them became different. This pill isn't anything precious. Do you still need to eat it next time? Feng Ruyen said. I also don't want my body to rely on this pill. Sima Yue smiled and said, I will go and rest first. Go on. Feng Ruyen waved her hand at her. That movement was so graceful. Sima Yue cupped her hands towards Jun Song and left the courtyard to find a place to rest. Your Honor, your illness has recovered? Jun Song waited for Sima Yue to leave before asking. Not really. Feng Ruyen said. She thought of a way to suppress it temporarily. Although it is temporary, it has been a long time since I felt so relaxed. I didn't think that she really had a way. Jun Song said. Yes, even Jean didn't have a way. She did it in 1 day and 1 night. Feng Ruyen's words were full of praise. Your Honor, I heard her call you Aunt Feng just now. She reminded me of little brother's child many years ago. They looked similar, so I let her call me that. I also like this child. Then does she know your identity? Chapter 5:31. Feng Ruyen shook her head and lazily said, It's because we don't know that we can interact like this. Many people respected her, and feared her because of her status, but very few people truly cared about her. My lord, does she really not know your identity? Jun Song said worriedly, I heard Feng Jiao say that she treats you very special. I don't know if she did it on purpose. Pff. Feng Ruyen suddenly laughed. She recalled that when she asked Sima Yue why she was so nice to her, Sima Yue blushed and said that she did not want to see such a beautiful person die. She even said that the scent on her body was very comfortable, and Sima Yue could not help but want to get close to her. Could it be because of Sovereign Lord's cultivation method? Jun Song guessed after hearing what Feng Ruyen said. Although my technique can make people feel close to me, that is only at the initial stage. At this stage, closeness has become reverence. Feng Ruyen said with a bit of loneliness. It was lonely at the top. Only when one stood at the top could they understand. Pausing for a moment, she continued, however, her soul does give people a sense of closeness, but I don't know why it's hidden. If it weren't for my good perception, I wouldn't have noticed it. If Sima Yue was here, she would definitely be shocked. In the beginning, her soul had formed a contract with the spirit pagoda, so there was a sense of closeness to her soul. However, ever since she had advanced to the god level, she remembered the past. The hatred of the past had changed the aura of her soul, suppressing that sense of closeness. He didn't expect Feng Ruyen to be able to sense this. However, perhaps it was because of the affinity between their souls that they found each other pleasing to the eye, although it was not obvious now. Jun Song saw that Feng Ruyen was more interested in Sima Yue and said, although I don't know much about this person, and the other's evaluation of her is not bad. Furthermore, it was rare for him to have such attainments in medical skills at such a young age. Feng Ruyen raised her hand and interrupted him. Since I like this child, I don't intend to force her. I have my own decision on this matter. Yes, my lord. All right, you can leave first. After Jun Song left, Feng Ruyen took a sip of the fruit juice that Sima Yue left for her and closed her eyes to rest. Sima Yue went back to rest for the night and came to look for Feng Ruyen the next morning. This time, Feng Ruyen wasn't in the pavilion, but in the house. She was talking to Feng Jiao about something, and when she arrived, Feng Jiao had just received her orders and came out. Aunt Feng, it's time for the second acupuncture, she said to Feng Ruyen after entering. Feng Ruyen waved her hand, and the two white-clothed women in the house retreated, leaving behind a woman named Feng Qing. Feng Qing took off Feng Ruyen's clothes, leaving only her undergarment. Her perfect back was exposed in front of Sima Yue. Sima Yue couldn't help but wonder how a man would react if he saw it. Unlike yesterday, he didn't need to prick the whole body. This time, he only needed to prick the two acupuncture points on his back and head. After he was done, he took out a milky white pill and fed it to her. Feng Ruyen felt that the pill was different. Her tired soul actually had a sense of relaxation that she hadn't felt in a long time. It was like a spring breeze, soft and gentle. What kind of pill is this? She asked curiously. How many years had it been? She actually had a curious heart. This isn't a pill. It's a pill that I developed using some herbs that are useful for the soul. Sima Yue said. Feng Ruyen raised her eyebrows. She had become her lab rat? Seeing Feng Ruyen's expression, she explained, Aunt Feng isn't the first to take this pill. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Feng Ruyen smiled, I know. Hiss hiss dash, smelling the fragrance of the pill, the little fella woke up from its sleep and stretched out its head to take the pill. Feng Ruyen then noticed the little golden snake and said in surprise, Ancient golden snake? Hiss hiss dash, the little fella stared at Feng Ruyen and spat out its tongue. Aunt Feng knows about this little fella's origin? Sima Yue was afraid that it would hurt Feng Ruyen and quickly reached out to hold it down. Seeing Feng Ruyen's expression, she should know about this fella. Feng Ruyen didn't expect that Sima Yue's wrist guard was actually an ancient golden snake. When it was asleep, it had completely concealed its aura. Even she didn't notice it. She looked at the little golden snake again and said, I've seen it in ancient books. However, it only mentioned the characteristics of its body and didn't describe it in detail. How do you have an ancient creature? In the last auction, Shameless 3 bought an ancient ore. This little fella came out from there. Sima Yue didn't hide it. She originally thought that Feng Ruyen would know about this little fella's situation. She didn't expect that it was just this little information. An ancient creature is something that many powers are after. In the future, it's best that you don't let anyone know about its identity. Feng Ruyen warned. I understand. Sima Yue took out a pill and the little fella swallowed it in one gulp. Then, it rubbed against the back of her hand and went back to sleep. Aunt Feng, after 2 more acupuncture sessions, your condition will be completely suppressed. Sima Yue said, in these 2 months, you must not use any spiritual energy. Otherwise, all our previous efforts will go to waste. After these 2 months, you'll only need to rely on pills to suppress it. Then, every 20 years, I'll have to perform acupuncture for you. However, this can only be maintained for 200 years. If we still can't find a way to cure it in 200 years, then there's really nothing we can do. 200 years. Feng Ruyen's expression was slightly restrained. A faint smile hung on her lips. 200 years is not bad. And, don't worry. I will definitely find a way in these 200 years. Sima Yue said. I believe in you. Feng Ruyen said as she took out a box and passed it to her. Sima Yue looked at the box and was stunned. Aunt, didn't you say that you'll give it to me after you've suppressed your condition? Take it. I believe in you. Even if I give it to you now, you'll take care of it for me. Feng Ruyen said, the one wearing a mask in the courtyard next door is your brother, right? Yes. Because he was bitten by a poisonous bug, his face is full of scars, so he has to wear a mask. Sima Yue took the box and said, "Then I'll have to thank Aunt. You can go." Feng Ruyen put on her clothes and stood up, waving her hand at her. Sima Yue obtained these things and wanted to suppress Shimin Feng's aura as soon as possible. She bowed and left. The two of them were in the same situation. They both had something in their bodies that couldn't be changed. However, because of the difference in strength and other reasons, the difference between the two of them was like heaven and earth. Although they're both suppressing the situation, the method to cure it will be different in the future. I hope that when the time comes, the two of them will have the same method to cure it. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Looking at the divine sand in her hand, she was in a good mood and walked towards Shimin Feng's courtyard. Chapter 5:32. Sima Yue and Shimin Feng stayed in the house for 2 days before coming out. During this time, Wu Lingyu was waiting in the courtyard. The door was opened, and Sima Yue appeared in front of him, looking a little tired. He suddenly felt that this girl was too tired and often made herself look like this. "Are you done?" He stepped forward and naturally reached out to press her temples, gently rubbing them. Sima Yue could feel his spiritual energy flowing into her brain through his fingers. Her tiredness disappeared. She wanted to push his hand away, but now she allowed him to massage her. When Shimin Feng came out of the house, he just happened to see this scene. Seeing the sunlight sprinkling on the two people, so quiet and harmonious, his footsteps subconsciously stopped. He knew that Wu Lingyu was interested in his older sister, but he didn't know why. When he was chatting with Wu Lingyu, he had heard Wu Lingyu lament that she had not opened her heart yet. Now that she had regained her memories, it would be difficult for him to enter her heart. Sima Yue felt Shimin Feng's appearance and struggled out of Wu Lingyu's hands. Her expression was a little strange, as if she had done something bad. Wu Lingyu was talking to Shimin Feng naturally. She was not as uncomfortable as she was. It seems that after suppressing the aura in your body, you give people a different feeling. It's not as cold as before. Shimin Feng walked out and said, "I've been used to it for so many years. Now that I've suppressed it, I'm still not used to it. It's all thanks to Aunt Feng's divine sand. Otherwise, your condition wouldn't have been suppressed." Sima Yue said, "Come with me to thank her later." Shimin Feng nodded. "But who exactly is she?" Sima Yue shook her head and said, "I don't know either. I think his identity is not simple. Her strength is the highest I have ever seen. But no matter what her identity was, I felt that she didn't belong here. She might leave at any time. It was uncertain whether their lives would intersect in the future. I'll go back and rest first, then I'll take you to see her." After saying that, she returned to her room and began to meditate to recover her mental strength. On the second day, Sima Yue brought the two of them to see Feng Ruyen. Perhaps it was because her body was much better, she met them. When Shimin Feng and Wu Lingyu saw Feng Ruyen, they were somewhat stunned. There was actually such a beautiful girl in this world. Moreover, that kind of indifferent feeling made people feel very comfortable. The vicissitudes of life in her eyes made it seem as if she had gone through countless years. The holy son of the sage pavilion. Feng Ruyen looked at Wu Lingyu and said, "I heard that you are Yue's senior brother?" Yue said that she hasn't been to the Divine Devil Valley. "How is that devil brat now?" Feng Ruyen said indifferently, but it made Wu Lingyu's heart tremble. Everyone called his master Old Man Devil, but she called him Little Devil. What did this mean? Aunt Feng has seen my master before? Sima Yue asked curiously. At that time, he was still a little brat and was very arrogant. I didn't think that he would be the Valley Lord of the Divine Devil Valley now. Feng Ruyen said with a sigh. Sima Yue wanted to laugh. An old man like Old Man Devil was already at a height that people looked up to. Now that he was called a little brat, if he heard it, who knew how he would react? Moreover, she really couldn't imagine what that arrogant little brat would look like. At the same time, she was guessing her identity. A beauty that was more powerful than Old Man Devil, her identity must be extraordinary. If she met him in the future, she could ask him. I heard that the food you cook is quite delicious. When are you going to cook for Aunt to try? Feng Ruyan asked. Sima Yuyue knew that she must have sent people to check on her, so she wasn't surprised that she knew how to cook. She smiled and said, if Aunt Feng wants to eat, I can cook for you now. However, your body is special now, so there are some things that you can't eat. Just do as you see fit. Feng Ruyan said, I haven't eaten for a long time, and I miss the taste of it. Then I'll go make it now. Sima Yue stood up and said, no rush, let Jun Song make a kitchen first. Feng Ruyan remembered that there wasn't a kitchen here. No need, I have everything. Sima Yue said. She originally planned to cook outside, but Feng Ruyan said to cook in the courtyard so that she could watch from the side. Sima Yue chose a few medicinal herbs that were beneficial to Feng Ruyan's body and made a few dishes. They were all simple, but the taste was not bad. Feng Ruyan ate happily. Although the taste was light, it was to her liking. After eating, Shimin Feng and Wu Lingyu left. Sima Yue stayed behind to chat with Feng Ruyan, taking the chance to ask her questions about cultivation. Feng Ruyan was really good to her. No matter what she asked, she would patiently answer her questions. Feng Ruyan was always able to answer the questions that she was struggling with. With just a few sentences, she would feel enlightened. Feng Jiao and the others were envious when they saw Feng Ruyan answering Sima Yue so patiently. To be able to receive guidance from his honor, who knows how many lifetimes of fortune she has accumulated. If those people knew, they would go crazy with envy. His honor liking her is indeed a blessing. Sima Yue knew that Feng Ruyan's identity was not ordinary, but she didn't say it out loud. She was afraid that if she said it out loud, they wouldn't be able to interact like now. And Feng Ruyan also liked this kind of interaction. In her long life, this period of time was just a drop in the ocean, but it made her heart feel peaceful. Thus, she liked Sima Yue even more. After that, Sima Yue gave her 2 acupuncture treatments and completely suppressed her illness. Then she went into seclusion for a week and concocted a pile of pills, giving all of them to Feng Ruyan. Eat 1 pill every 7 days. These pills should be enough for you to eat for 5 years. Sima Yue said, also, this is the pill recipe. When you finish eating the pills, remember to ask someone to find these ingredients to concoct. Feng Ruyan took the pill recipe and looked at it. The grade wasn't high, but the concoction process was quite troublesome. It could be seen that her pill concoction skills were not weak. Also, if you don't need to use your spiritual power, then don't use it. If you have no other choice, then eat 2 of these pills. This is the pill recipe. She took out 2 bottles of pills. Feng Ruyan looked at them and saw that they were black-colored pills. Feng Ruyan kept the pills and the pill recipe. She hesitated for a moment and asked, are you willing to leave with me? Sima Yue was startled. Then she shook her head and said, I know that if I leave with you, I might step into a different life. But I have family and friends here. I still have a huge grudge that I have yet to avenge and a wish that I have yet to fulfill. Thus, I cannot leave with you. Chapter 5:33. Feng Ruyan wasn't surprised by Sima Yue's answer. After interacting with her for 2 months, she understood her better. If she had wanted to follow him from the start, she wouldn't have not asked about his identity for such a long time. It's good that you don't go back with me. If there's a chance in the future, you'll naturally go too. She smiled faintly. I'll give you something. Sima Yue did not know what she wanted to give her. She wanted to reject it, but Feng Ruyan placed her hand on Sima Yue's forehead. Following that, Sima Yue felt an additional presence in her sea of consciousness, together with Feng Zhixing's faint figure. Feng family? Feng Ruyan hurriedly sensed Feng Zhixing's aura and asked in astonishment. Sima Yue didn't expect that she would do the same thing as Feng Zhixing before he left. She said anxiously, Aunt Feng, how can you do this? How can your body stand it? Feng Ruyan raised her hand to stop her and said, you should know that my soul power is stronger. That makes no difference to me. However, what I'm more curious about is who is that person in your sea of consciousness? It's my master. Sima Yue said, his name is Feng Zhixing. After giving me this, He left the Yi-Lin continent and returned to the primordial lands. Aunt Feng, do you know the Feng family? She took out Feng Zhixing's jade pendant and showed it to Feng Ruyen. I don't know the Feng Zhixing you're talking about, but I've seen the patterns on this jade pendant before. Feng Ruyen said, these few years, I've been walking around the central and outer regions, and I've seen many of the Feng clan symbols. But if you ask me about Feng Zhixing, I don't know. Sima Yue put away the jade pendant. She naturally knew that there were members of the Feng family in the middle and outer regions, but she did not know where Feng Zhixing was. When he left, he said that he was going to settle the matters between the Feng clan and the Sage Pavilion. She didn't know how the situation was now. She believed that only the direct descendants of the Feng clan would have this jade pendant. When she went to the central region, she would definitely ask the Feng clan. I can feel that his strength isn't that high, but he's willing to take out a portion of his power to protect you. He treats you very well. Feng Ruyen said. Master is very good to me. Sima Yue said. Thinking about how Feng Ruyen had also left her aura in her body, she was touched. I will definitely think of a way to cure Aunt Feng's illness. Hee, alright, I'll wait. Feng Ruyen smiled and said. It was unknown if she heard her words. I left this aura in your body. If you encounter something you can't solve, you can also touch her. Once I sense it, I will rush over. She didn't say it out loud, but Sima Yue understood. If there's a chance, go to Carefree World to take a look. After Feng Ruyen finished speaking, her figure slowly faded and disappeared in front of her. At the same time, Feng Jiao and the others who were standing guard outside vanished into thin air. Sima Yue opened her mouth, but no words came out. She just watched as Sima Yue disappeared quietly. She did not open the space tunnel like Old Man Devil and the rest. Just how powerful was she? Jun Song hurriedly walked in from outside, but he could no longer see Feng Ruyen's figure. Jun Song, I'll have to trouble your Xianyuan pavilion to take care of Yue. Feng Ruyen's voice came out of thin air. Jun Song cupped his hands towards the sky and said, Xianyuan Pavilion will not disappoint your honor. Feng Ruyen's voice did not come out again. It was unknown if she heard his reply. Jun Song looked at Sima Yue, who was in a daze, and said, Little friend Yue, this is my Xianyuan Pavilion's token. With this, you can mobilize half of the Xianyuan Pavilion's power. If you encounter any problems, you can look for them. Xianyuan Pavilion had an extraordinary position in the primordial lands. Furthermore, their management was very strict. Even an ordinary elder did not have the authority to mobilize half of the pavilion's power. Sima Yue saw Jun Song take out such a token and was shocked. Pavilion Master Jun, how can this, little friend Yue, this primordial lands is extremely dangerous. Although you are the young master of the Divine Devil Valley, the Divine Devil Valley is only active in the central regions. Now that you are in the outer regions, I can't follow you all the time. It's best that you take this. Jun Song said, you also heard what his honor said. If anything happens to you, we won't be able to explain it to him. Aunt Feng isn't a member of your Xianyuan Pavilion. Sima Yue said. That's right. But he has a deep relationship with my Xianyuan Pavilion. Jun Song said, you should accept this. Otherwise, this old man can only follow you around 24 hours a day to ensure your safety. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Why did Jun Song's words sound so shameless? At this moment he was very similar to the one at the auction. He was different from the one in front of Feng Ruyen. However, she still took the token. Since he had already said so, if she still didn't accept it, it would seem unreasonable. If this old man really followed her all day long, the people of the Xianyuan Pavilion would probably go crazy. She looked at Jun Song and didn't ask about the relationship between Xianyuan Pavilion and Feng Ruyen. Although this old man gave her the feeling of an old urchin, she believed that to be able to become the pavilion master of the outer regions and be together with Feng Ruyen, he definitely wasn't as he appeared. Pavilion Master Jun, since Aunt Feng has already left, Yue won't disturb you any longer, she said to Jun Song. Chapter 5:34. The more Yue thought about it, the more worried she became. Thus, She hurriedly bade farewell to Jun Tsang, brought Shimin Feng, and had Wu Lingyu open the space tunnel, and went to Autumn Moon City together. The other end of the spatial tunnel that Wu Lingyu opened was right above the Yin clan. When Sima Yue and the other two appeared, Bei Gong Tang and the others immediately felt it. It's a bit dull and depressing, Shimin Feng said as he supported Sima Yue to prevent her from falling from the sky. Sima Yue was depressed that she could not fly. However, she could also feel the oppressive atmosphere in the Yin family. Just as she was worried about Bei Gong Tang and the others' safety, a familiar figure ran out from the house. Fifth brother. Yue. Yue, why are you here? Shimin Feng held onto Sima Yue's waist and landed on the ground with her. Seeing that she was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "We've settled the things on our side. Seeing that you guys haven't contacted us, we were worried that something might have happened to you guys, so we came to take a look." The head of the Yin family also came out of the house. When he saw Wu Lingyu and Sima Yue, he said, "What are you standing here for? Tang, why aren't you inviting them inside to sit?" "Yes, clan head." Bei Gong Tang replied, "We are currently discussing some matters. I will bring you all back to the courtyard to rest." "What happened?" Sima Yue asked. "The Bei Gong family and the Earth Palace have joined forces to suppress us. Furthermore, they've even joined forces with other powers and formed an alliance. We've already fought with them a few times in these 2 months. Bei Gong Tang said, "They're very strong. We've already been forced into a dead end. Furthermore, they are still in discussion. According to the information we received, they will launch an all-out attack on us in 2 days. What about the Goshawk clan?" The Goshawk king returned, and so did the other Goshawks. Bei Gong Tang said, "We also wanted to send people to inform the Goshawk clan to ask for their assistance, but the people we sent out were all killed by them halfway. Where is Honor Rock?" After General Rong and his men left, their whereabouts are also unknown. However, unlike the men we sent out, their corpses were not returned. Bei Gong Tang said apologetically, "I'm sorry. It's all because of us that General Rong and the others. It seems like the Bei Gong clan and the Earth Palace do not intend to survive in this world." Sima Yue said coldly, "Little Rock, are Honor Rock and the others still alive?" Little Peng appeared in front of everyone. He closed his eyes and sensed for a moment, saying, "He's still alive, but his aura is a bit weak. He should be heavily injured. Moreover, they are still running. They may be being hunted down." "Is it far away?" "Not far. It shouldn't be far from Autumn Moon City," Little Rock said. "Okay, tell them to hold on. We'll go and save them right away." Sima Yue said, "Also, release your aura to warn the Bei Gong clan and the Earth Palace. Also, let the Goshawk King know that you are back." Little Rock nodded. The aura of the golden-winged rock was released without reservation. The Earth Palace Master and Bei Gong Xiong, who were discussing matters with the Bei Gong clan, stood up immediately. This is, the Rock King is back." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. If the Rock King was back, then they would definitely be able to contact the Goshawk clan. Once they arrived, the situation would be reversed. "It seems like we can't care so much anymore. Gather people immediately. We have to destroy the Yin clan before the Goshawk clan arrives." Bei Gong Xiong slapped the table and said, "Palace Master, please send people from the Earth Palace over." The Earth Palace Master, who was also Gu Yun'er's mother, said fiercely, "I didn't expect the Yin clan to be able to find people at this time. Whoever dares to stop me from avenging my daughter and granddaughter, I will not let them go. Come on, take my token back and call all the people of the Earth Palace here." "Yes, Palace Master." A woman stepped forward to take the token and turned to leave. In the Goshawk clan's land, the Goshawk King was cultivating at the edge of a cliff with his eyes closed. Feeling Little Rock's aura, he opened his eyes. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes, which then turned into ruthlessness. He ordered, "All clansmen listen to my order. Those with the strength of a sacred beast and above, gather immediately." "King, what's the matter?" a woman behind him asked. "King is back. He just sent a message through the air. He must have met with danger." The Goshawk King said, "Go and arrange it. We will leave in half an hour." Half an hour later, the Goshawk King left with thousands of sacred beasts. Other than leaving behind some necessary people to protect the younger generation of the clan, the others followed him to Autumn Moon City. Sima Yue knew that once Little Rock returned, the Beigong clan and the Yin clan would definitely make a move. However, if they didn't do so, they wouldn't be able to contact the Goshawk clan. They needed a lot of time to go back and forth. It was hard to guarantee that the Beigong clan and the Earth Palace wouldn't make a move. Yin clan master, the Yin clan should have a defensive array, right? Yes. Little Rock said that the Goshawk clan has already set off. They will reach here in a day. You just need to activate the teleportation array and hold on until tomorrow. Sima Yue said. Although we have a defensive array, if too many of them come and attack continuously, the array won't last long. Yin clan master said. Sima Yue thought about it and called Little Rock. They flew into the air and took out array stones. They threw them in the Yin clan's direction. When the Yin clan saw Sima Yue setting up the array, they cried out in surprise, "She's an array master?" Bei Gongtang glanced at them but didn't reply. Because the Yin clan wasn't small, Sima Yue spent more than an hour to set up the array. She then landed and said to Bei Gongtang, "I set up an illusion array. If the Beigong clan and the Earth Palace come, activate the illusion array and trap them for a while. However, this illusion array won't last long. Once it's broken, you will have to use the defensive array. However, with the two arrays together, you should be able to delay them until the Goshawk clan arrives. Also, if the Earth Palace and the Beigong clan want to attack you, they will need some time to prepare." "Yue, what about you?" Bei Gongtang asked. "I'm going to save Honor Rock and the others." Sima Yue said, "To be able to chase them away, the opponent's strength is definitely not low. Honor Rock and the others are injured and need someone to save them." "Then you guys be careful." Bei Gongtang said. Sima Yue nodded and said, "You guys too." Not long after Sima Yue and the others left, a group of people came down from the Earth Mountain. They were aggressive and rushed towards Autumn Moon City. At the same time, many forces in Autumn Moon City gathered in front of the Beigong clan, waiting for the final order. Chapter 5:35. When Bei Gongxiong led everyone to launch the final attack on the Yin family, he realized that no matter where the Yin family went, they always maintained a constant distance. They had no way of getting close to the Yin family's residence. "Patriarch, Palace Lord, the situation doesn't seem right. No matter where we go, we can't reach the Yin clan. It's as if we're walking on the same spot." Someone noticed that something was amiss and reminded, "Not good, Palace Master, we've entered an illusion." A man from the Earth Palace said, "Illusion array?" The man looked at the faint smoke that filled the street and said with certainty, "That's right, we must have entered an illusion array." However, this illusion array was set up in a hurry, so it only has the effect of trapping and does not have any offensive power. "Then isn't what we're seeing now an illusion?" Bei Gong Ao said. "That's right." The man's expression was solemn. He was a formation master invited by the Earth Palace. His attainments in formation were relatively deep, but even he did not notice that he had already entered the other party's formation. It could be seen how powerful the other party's formation was. If it wasn't for the fact that they were pressed for time and didn't have time to set up their attacks, they would probably be dead by now. Sima Yue had once used this formation to deal with the Jiang family. It had caused Jiang Fei and Evernew City's city lord to lose control and kill each other. However, due to the lack of time, she could only set up an illusion to trap the people that Bei Gongxiong had brought with him. "Master, can you break the formation?" The Earth Palace Master asked. "It will take some time." That array master said, "The other party's attainments in array formations are higher than mine. She can surround the entire Yin family. We have to deduce the rules of her calculations before we can break the array." "Then, should we continue?" Bei Gongxiong asked. "It's useless even if we leave. As long as we stay in this array formation, we won't be able to get close to the Yin clan's house. It's better to ask everyone to stop so that their efforts will be in vain." Grandmaster stopped talking after he finished speaking and began to calculate the data of Sima Yoyue's array formation. The main members of the Yin clan were all in the main courtyard. When they heard that the Beigong clan was trapped in the illusion array, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Yoyue said that you can trap them for half a day. That should be no problem. Beigong Tang said. Little Tang, this friend of yours is really amazing. She just casually set up an array, but it's so powerful. One of Beigong Tang's aunts said with a smile. Yoyue is naturally amazing. When Beigong Tang talked about Sima Yue, her tone was filled with pride. When she comes back, we must thank her properly. Yin family head said. Xiao Tang, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have helped us. Clan head, in the end, Beigong clan and the Earth Palace attacked us because cousin sent Beigong heir and Guyun heir to the abyss of hell. Why should we thank her? A lady glared at Beigong Tang unhappily. It was clearly that Beigong heir who swore an oath to compete with cousin in pill refinement. She was only pulled into the Avicii hell after losing. That Guyun heir also went against her oath and wanted to kill cousin, so she was pulled into the Avicii hell. They only have themselves to blame. What does it have to do with cousin? A man with delicate features said, moreover, the Beigong clan has wanted to deal with our Yin clan for a long time. Even if this matter didn't happen, they would still deal with us. You're being biased by blaming cousin like this. That lady was choked by the man's words. She wanted to refute, but the Yin family had berated her. What time is it now? You're still bickering here. Clan head, what Lu Air said is right. This happened because they came back. Even if you berate Lu Air, you can't cover up this fact. A lady said. She looked at Yin Lan and Beigong Tang with an unfriendly gaze. They realized that the clan treated Beigong Tang and Yin Lan very well. Yin Lan was about to snatch their position. It seems that aunts are very unhappy that we're in the Yin family. Beigong Tang smiled and said, since you don't welcome us when this matter is over, my mother, brother and I will leave the clan. We won't be part of the Yin family anymore. If you want to leave, leave now. Once you leave, who knows if the Beigong clan will retreat? A teenage boy said. Are you sure that if we leave, the Beigong clan will let the Yin family go? Can the Yin family save themselves? Beigong Tang laughed coldly. Those people's original target was you. If you leave, they will naturally let us go. Even if we don't leave, when the Goshawk clan comes, they will kill all of them. That boy said. Cousin, you really know how to talk nonsense. Beigong Tang looked straight at that boy. Do you think that if we leave, the Goshawk clan will come and help you? What relationship do you have with them? The boy was speechless. What she said was right. If she left, the Sima clan would definitely leave as well. Without them, the Goshawk clan would not care if they lived or died. They were originally sent by Sima Yue to help Beigong Tang, not to help the Yin family. Alright, let's talk less. Yin family head rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Family head, I'm telling the truth. I've already talked to mother. After this matter is over, mother, brother and I will leave the Yin family. Little Tang, why do you have to? A man who looked somewhat similar to Yin Lan spoke up. Why? Beigong Tang laughed coldly. Although my mother married into the Beigong clan, she did not do anything to let down the Yin family. I didn't expect that in just a few days after I left Autumn Moon City, you people would come and bully them. Why do you have to do this? This Yin family is not something that we want to acknowledge. You treat mother well, so we naturally want to come down. You don't want us to stay, so we won't be an eyesore and be bullied. It's not like we can't live without you. The last time she went to the auction, she came back and found that her mother and brother were being bullied. She was furious. After investigating the reason, she found out that they thought that Sima Yue would not come back, so there was no use in keeping Yin Lan and the rest. At that time, there were people who were unhappy that they came back, and at that time, they came to bully them. Yin Lan said that they would let it go because they were from the Yin family, but Beigong Tang decided that once the Beigong clan's matter was settled, she would take them with her and leave. Yin Lan, you think so too? The Yin family head looked at Yin Lan, who was silent at the side, and asked. I'll do whatever Tanger says. Inlon said. Family head, if we really settle the Beigong clan and the Earth Palace, the Een family will be the only big family in Autumn Moon City. This can be considered our repayment for your shelter. Bei Gong Tang said. Seeing Bei Gong Tang's firm attitude, the Een family head sighed in his heart. He regretted that he did not punish his sons for that matter. It was because of the unfair treatment that Bei Gong Tang, who did not have a good impression of the Een family, was bitterly disappointed and wanted to leave. At this time, Sima Yue did not know what was happening in Autumn Moon City. At this time, she was rushing towards a direction outside of Autumn Moon City. Chapter 5:36. Honor Rock brought 2 four-winged rocks and flew towards Autumn Moon City. They received news that the king was already on the way to rescue them. As long as they could hold on until they arrived, they would be saved. Their hearts were filled with hatred when they saw the Goshawk's remaining members getting closer and closer. It was unknown where this Earth Palace had met the remnants of the Goshawk clan. Knowing the grudge between them and the Four-Winged Rock clan, they also knew that they would seek the help of the Goshawk clan. Thus, they ambushed them outside the city. As soon as they came out, they would intercept them. There were only 3 of them, but the other side had more than 10 people. If it weren't for their strength, they wouldn't have been able to hold on for so long. He had never been in such a sorry state in his entire life. The Goshawk king had been killed in the previous incident, but the Goshawk clan had not been completely wiped out. Some of the Goshawk clan had escaped, and some of the stronger ones had killed their way out. Now that they hated the Four-Winged Rocks to the bone, they would naturally not show mercy when they saw their enemies. Sima Yue sat on Little Rock's back. Hearing him say that Honor Rock's aura was getting weaker and weaker, her heart was burning with anxiety. Master, they are right in front. Little Rock said. They heard the sounds of fighting. It must be Honor Rock and the others fighting. Thinking of this, Little Rock increased his speed. Very soon, they saw the Honor Rock trio covered in injuries, stubbornly resisting the siege of a group of Goshawks. It's the remnants of the Goshawk clan. Sima Yue saw that it was the Goshawk race that was chasing after Honor Rock and the others. She was so angry that she called out the remaining 4-winged rocks to save them. When Ninth Rock and the others saw the remnants of the Goshawk clan injuring Honor Rock and the others to such an extent, they hurriedly flew over to save them. The situation instantly reversed. Honor Rock's injuries were very serious. The reason he was able to hold on until now was completely because of the belief that someone would come to save them. Now that he saw his own people coming, the string in his heart relaxed. He fainted and fell straight down from the sky. General Honor. Someone saw him falling and hurriedly grabbed his body, then slowly brought him down. The other 2 injured ones also withdrew from the battlefield and landed beside Honor Rock, transforming into mimicry. Sima Yue and Little Rock rushed over and saw the unconscious Honor Rock. She hurriedly took out a bottle of pills and gave it to the other 2 to eat. Then, she looked at the mountain-like Honor Rock and the small pills in her hand and face-bombed. I'll do it. Little Rock transformed into his human form and came to the side of Honor Rock's mouth. He pried open his huge beak and then threw the medicinal pill inside. This was an elixir that Sima Yue had concocted for spirit beasts. It took effect quickly and soon, Ren Pengrong woke up. Your Majesty, he called out weakly. It's fine, Little Rock said. Honor Rock transformed into a small bird. Sima Yue walked over and hugged him. Very quickly, Ninth Rock and the others killed all the Goshawks. Not a single one was left. Sima Yue looked at the mountain-like corpses and said, bring them all back. They're not weak. When we have time, we'll eat them to fill our stomachs and increase our spiritual power. Honor Rock and the others had seen Sima Yue eat goshawks before and were not unfamiliar with her hobby. Seeing her keep all the corpses, they were not surprised. After Sima Yue kept all the corpses, she kept Ninth Rock and the others in her spirit pagoda. Then she returned to Autumn Moon City with Little Rock. When they returned, the Een clan's battle had almost ended. The corpses had not been cleaned up and the Een clan's people were cleaning up the corpses and the bloodstains on the streets. With the help of the Goshawk clan and Beigong clan's desperate counterattack, The Beigong clan and the people they brought were almost completely wiped out. Sima Yue went to the hall and found Beigong Tang. Before she entered, she heard Beigong Tang's voice from inside. That voice was very loud and she could hear that it was very angry. She subconsciously stopped in her tracks, wanting to hear what they were arguing about. Beigong Tang, don't be so shameless. We have already apologized. What else do you want? What do I want? Beigong Tang laughed coldly. You want to erase the fact that you bullied my mother and younger brother with an insincere apology? Actually, I don't want to do anything. What I want to do has already been decided. After this matter with the Beigong clan, my mother, younger brother and I will leave the Yin clan. I want to ask, what do you want to do by stopping my mother and not letting her leave? Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. The Yin clan actually bullied Yin Lan and Beigong Hang? Xiao Tang, we are your aunts. As your elders, we have already lowered our heads and apologized to you. You are still harping on this matter and not letting it go. It is a little unreasonable. A woman's voice was heard. You apologized? You only saw that Yue had returned and called the Goshawk clan over. You felt that we were useful again, so you softly said that it was wrong at that time. I'm not a fool. Everyone knows what you are thinking in your hearts. I don't want my mother and younger brother to still be bullied by you after I leave the clan. Sima Yue more or less understood when she heard this. She originally thought that the Yin clan would treat Yin Lan and the others well. This way, Beigong Tang would be able to leave in peace. But now, it seemed that the Yin clan was not a clan that could be entrusted to them. Sima Yue got someone to report and then walked in. Seeing that she had returned, the anger on Beigong Tang's face dissipated a little. Yue, did you find General Rong and the others? I found them. Although they are injured, their lives are not in danger. Sima Yue said, I heard you arguing outside just now. What happened? It's nothing. It's just that we wanted to leave the Yin clan and they didn't agree. Beigong Tang glanced at them coldly. Sima Yue looked at Yin Lan who was sitting at the back and asked, Auntie Lan, do you want to leave? Yin Lan nodded, saying, I want to be with Tang. It's not good for me to say anything about your clan's matters. But no matter what decision you make, I will support you. Sima Yue said to Beigong Tang. After speaking, she looked at the Yin clan head and said, Yin clan head, leave a way out for everything. We will meet again in the future. If they really angered Beigong Tang, the Yin clan would suffer a double loss and end up in the same state as the Beigong clan. She did not say what she wanted to say, but how could the Yin clan not understand her meaning? Since they want to leave, then let them leave. Yin Hao said as he came in from outside. Third brother. How are? The Yin clan did not expect that Yin Hao would actually support Beigong Tang to leave the clan. Did he not know how big of a loss this would bring to the clan? Yin Hao looked at the people present and said, I want her to live. Since she is not living well in the clan, then let her leave. You guys should also put away your little schemes if you don't want the Yin clan to end up in the same state as the Beigong clan. Sima Yue did not expect Yin Hao to say such words. However, his position in the clan was different. Since he had already said so, even if the Yin clan had any objections, it was useless. Chapter 537. With Yin Hao's words, Beigong Tang finally brought Yin Lan and Beigong Hang out of the Yin clan. However, the Yin family had agreed to let them leave, but he didn't want them to leave the family. Their names still remained in the family records. Beigong Tang saw that Yin Lan was indeed reluctant to part with the Yin clan, and also agreed. In any case, as long as Yin Lan was not in the clan, she would not be bullied by those people. Thus, the group quickly left Autumn Moon City and rushed to Tianfu City. Tianfu City was the largest city in the central region. There were many forces in the city and many forces and clans gathered outside the city. It was much more than other cities. When Sima Yu and the others arrived at Heavenly City, they found an inn to stay in. After that, they didn't go to the Heavenly Sect. Instead, they found a house near the sect and settled down as a place for them to stay. Sima Lai, Sang Muyu and Yin Lan did not want to go to the academy, and Shimen Feng was too old to go. There was a courtyard where they could live normally. Yue and the others had a place to stay when they left the academy. The courtyard he bought wasn't big. There were only a few small courtyards in total. However, because it was close to the academy, the price was ridiculously high. Fortunately, Sima Yue still had 4 million mid-grade crystal stones left. After spending almost all of her savings, she bought this courtyard. There was still more than a month before the academy's enrollment. Sima Yue and the rest used this time to familiarize themselves with Heaven City. Tianfu City was the largest city in the central region, spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers from north to south and hundreds of thousands of kilometers from east to west. Even if one stood on the tallest building, they wouldn't be able to see the end of it. The Sky Heaven School was located in the eastern district of the city. It was close to the center of the north-south direction, so it wasn't very far to the north and south of the city. At least they could use spirit beasts to go back and forth in the same day. The western district was much further away. There was an area in the city center that did not belong to the 4 cardinal directions. It was the most prosperous area in the city. Those who could enter this area were not ordinary forces. Furthermore, there was a rule here that no one was allowed to fight here. Once discovered, they would be blacklisted by various forces. Most people who entered this place didn't dare to act rashly because the shop owner here wasn't someone anyone could afford to offend. Sima Yue and the rest had been wandering around the city for the past few days. Even if they didn't buy anything, they only rode on the spirit beasts and took a few days to finish walking the main streets. On this day, Sima Yu, Sima Lai, Sima Yu Lin and Wu Lingyu went to the memory restaurant in the city center. After entering, she showed the shopkeeper a token and he immediately led them to a courtyard in the backyard. "Greetings, second master." The shopkeeper bowed towards Sima Yue. "I have been waiting for you under young master's orders." "Shopkeeper you don't have to be so courteous. Just call me Yue." Sima Yue waved her hand. "I'm here to take a look at the situation here." Before Qin Mo left, he originally wanted to give her the entire memory restaurant. He said that it was originally opened for her. She rejected him, so Qin Mo said that she would be responsible for it as well. In the future, she would be the second master of memory restaurant. Seeing the persistence in his eyes, she understood that he wanted her to have someone to rely on and a source of income. He wanted her to know that if anything happened, he would still be there to rely on. Yu, I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past," he said sadly. Her heart warmed and she accepted this favor. "I will show the account book to young master." "Shopkeeper," he said. "No need." Sima Yue said, "Shopkeeper whatever you did in the past, you will do it in the future. If anything happens, just let me know. There's no need to look at the account book. This is my grandfather. If there's anything in the future, just look for him. We are now living in Banyan Tree Street." Sima Yue said as she pointed at Sima Lai. "I understand." "Shopkeeper," he replied. "Shopkeeper, how much do you know about the heavenly sect's recruitment?" Sima Yue asked. "Does young master want to participate in the recruitment?" Shopkeeper, he asked. "Yes, I heard that this sect is not bad, so I want to go in and learn." Sima Yue said with a smile. "This heavenly sect is not bad. It is one of the best in the entire primordial lands. Many people from the inner regions come here to learn." "Shopkeeper," he said, "apart from being under 100 years old, you have to go through a few rounds of tests before you can enter the sect. Do you know the contents of the tests?" Shopkeeper, he shook his head. "The contents of the tests are kept secret before the recruitment. You will only know after the tests are over. The contents of the tests are different every time. There's no way to get any experience from the previous batch of recruitment." After that, Sima Yue asked a few more questions about the sect. They left after getting a general understanding of it. On the way back, they saw many young people discussing the recruitment. They guessed that these people were also here to participate in the recruitment. So many people came to participate, but only 100 people are recruited. You can imagine the competition. Sima Yulin couldn't help but sigh. "Even if the competition is fierce, I believe that we can still get in," Sima Yue said confidently. She believed that it was not only her, but also her brothers from the Sima family, Bei Gong Tang and the others. Everyone had experienced so many things, so their mentality was definitely fine. Their talent was not bad, and adding on the time they saved in the Spirit Pagoda, their strength was not bad for those under 100 years old. It should not be a problem for them to pass the recruitment test. Hey, have you heard? There are many geniuses who came to participate in the recruitment this time. Really? Who are they? You haven't heard? That person said with surprise. I heard that apart from the geniuses from the outer regions, there are also geniuses from the inner regions, Southern Desolation, Northern Desert, Eastern Region and Western Liang. I heard that a few geniuses came to participate. Really? Then this year's competition will be tough. Of course. The two of them walked away as they spoke. Sima Yuiwei and the others who accidentally heard the news looked at their backs and sighed at the difficulty of the competition this time. After they went back, Sima Yuiwei and the others told everyone about the news they received today. Everyone's faces were solemn, and the pressure was not small. Everyone, don't worry. If you can enter, then enter. If you can't, don't be discouraged. There are many paths to cultivation, and this is not the only one. Sima Lai said, Grandfather is right. We will do our best. Even if we can't enter, we will not regret it. Sima Yuchi said, in the excited atmosphere of the whole city, the recruitment day of the heavenly sect arrived. Even Sima Yulu and the others could not calm down because they were too excited. A group of people ate, drank, and chatted in the courtyard. Sima Yue came to Wu Lingyu's side with 2 cups of wine and handed one to him. Senior, are you not going to go back? I said I would be with you, waiting for Mo Sha to wake up. Wu Lingyu smiled faintly as he drank the wine in one gulp. You also want to participate in the recruitment with us? Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu with surprise. Without waiting for him to reply, she said, You are definitely more than 100 years old. You don't have the right to participate. Wu Lingyu came in front of Sima Yue, and the two of them could smell the wine from each other's breath. Junior, do you want me to go with you? Chapter 5:38. Wu Lingyu's voice was lazy and teasing, but it also gave people the feeling that he was serious. Sima Yue turned her head and their noses touched. When she saw those smiling eyes, her heart skipped a beat. Junior brother hasn't answered me yet. When she heard that magnetic voice and smelled the faint fragrance of wine on his breath, she didn't know why her face turned red. She quickly turned her head in embarrassment and said, I don't care what senior brother wants to do. After that, she lowered her head and took a sip of wine to hide her emotions. Wu Lingyu chuckled softly. This was the first time Sima Yue had heard him laugh out loud. In the past, it was always a faint smile, a devilish smile, an indifferent smile. It was always a silent smile. Looks like this guy is in a good mood. At the thought of this, Sima Yue could not help but glare at him. She turned around and returned to the table to continue eating and drinking with everyone else. She couldn't be bothered to care about what he would do in the future. He wasn't a child anymore. He definitely had his own plans. Wu Lingyu leaned against the balustrade of the pavilion. He took out a wine jug, filled his cup, and drank it with a smile. He would give her a surprise. The next morning, Sima Yue and the rest packed up and headed to the Sky Heaven School. They were close to the academy and had woken up early. However, when they arrived, they still discovered that they were late. That was because the outside of the academy was bustling with activity. There were tens of thousands of people. There are so many people so early in the morning. Did they come here since last night? Sima Yue's lips twitched. There are so many people, are you really only accepting 100? Fatty Chu looked at the crowded scene and swallowed his saliva. If that's really the case, then this ratio is indeed frightening. Wei Ziqi said, Great pressure. Sima Yulu felt that he was a little uncertain. He didn't know if he would be chosen. At this time, they heard people talking beside them. Their originally disappointed hearts were filled with confidence. I heard that someone leaked the news last night that they're not only taking in 100 people this time. I think so. Those who came early are all spreading the news. Hee hee, if that's really the case, then wouldn't our chances of being selected be even greater? Yeah, just thinking about it makes me excited. If it's not 100 people, then how many? I don't know. Who knew what the Academy was thinking? Although they would only accept 100 people each time, there were exceptions. The highest number they accepted was 500 people, and the lowest number they accepted was 20 people. Since there are rumors that there are more than 100 people, then the number of people is probably uncertain. Hee. In short, the more we recruit, the greater our chances. Of course. Sima Yue and the rest looked at each other. If that was the case, they would have a better chance. He just didn't know how the Academy would assess him. He remembered that at that time in the Yilin continent, Bei Gongtang and the others only had to touch the testing ball when they took the test. He didn't know if this would be any different from the past. Out of the way, out of the way. There was a sudden commotion at the back. Sima Yue and the rest turned around and saw a few people who looked like guards pushing the crowd aside, allowing a luxurious beast carriage to slowly drive over. Seeing the 3 divine beasts pulling the carriage, Wu Hen, everyone present subconsciously opened up a path for the beast carriage to drive to the front. Wu Hen, also known as Kuan Yin, was a kind of spirit beast with the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. It looked like a cow, but it didn't have the honest nature of a cow. It was cruel, liked to kill, and was strong. Now that there was someone using a Wu Hen to pull a carriage, their background was definitely not small. Who is sitting in the beast carriage, so ostentatious? Fatty Chu blinked and said, "You don't even know this? You'll know when you see the mark on the carriage. This is the Grey Wolf clan of the Northern Desert." Someone at the side saw that Fatty Chu didn't even know this and explained, "What kind of clan is the Grey Wolf clan?" Sima Yue asked Sima Yue. She used to be from the central regions, so she should know this. The Grey Wolf clan is a big clan in the Northern Desert. Their surname is Grey Wolf and their clan is huge. They are one of the top clans in the Northern Desert. They are ruthless and like to take revenge. Their methods are cruel and those who offend them don't have a good ending. I heard that among the younger generation, there's a youth called Song Langli. He's very talented. He's only 50 years old, but he's already advanced to Divine Overlord rank. Sima Yu explained, thinking about it, the one sitting in the carriage should be Song Langli. This kind of person would come here to study? Fatty Chu didn't understand. For a clan like theirs, they could definitely nurture him better. Why would they let him come here? Although the Heavenly Sect is only an outer sect, it has an extremely important position in the entire continent. Moreover, it is said that there are many secrets. Being able to walk around here is also a kind of affirmation for them. Bei Gongtang said, when the beast carriage reached the gate of the academy, it stopped moving forward and waited with everyone else. After a while, another carriage came. Although there were no guards in front shouting this time, when everyone saw the spirit beast pulling the carriage, they consciously opened up a path. They actually used the descendant of the ancient divine beast, Fu Zhu, to pull the carriage. This meant that their status was definitely not lower than the Grey Wolf clan. What kind of spirit beast is that? It looks like a white deer. Sima Yue said. That is Fu Zhu. It is the descendant of the ancient divine beast. Although it looks like a white deer, it is much more ferocious than a white deer. It is extremely fast. Many people want to use it as a means of transportation. However, very few people can find it and tame it to pull the carriage. Sima Yue said. Then which power does this person belong to? If I didn't guess wrongly, it should be someone from Western Liang. Sima Yue said. Looking at the 2 beast carriages that were parked side by side, she was puzzled. Why are these people gathering at this time to participate in the recruitment? Is there anything strange? Sima Yue asked. Sima Yue nodded and said, although this sect is not bad, it is a little strange to let so many geniuses from the inner regions to participate in the recruitment at the same time. After all, this sect's recruitment period is not long. It happens once every 10 years. For cultivators, 10 years was nothing more than the blink of an eye. There is no need for them to rush here at this time. Maybe it is a coincidence. Fatty Chu said. The sound of the beast carriage came from behind again. Sima Yue looked at the beast carriage that was slowly approaching and narrowed her eyes. Was this really a coincidence? They waited for a while. During this time, many beast carriages came and they all went to the front to wait. No one dared to be rash. Looking at the crowd that was retreating, Sima Yue sighed in her heart. What was the use of coming early? They still had to give way when they met someone powerful. Just as the sun was hanging in the sky, the sect gate slowly opened. An old man with white hair and a white beard wearing a white robe slowly walked out from inside. Chapter 539. There was a group of people behind the old man. They were not surprised to see the people waiting outside. There are more people this year than in previous years. One of the mentors said, "I wonder how many people will pass the assessment. There are quite a few geniuses this year. I don't think they will disappoint us." Another mentor said, "These geniuses, how many of them are here to learn with sincerity?" A black-clothed instructor said with a straight face, "All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's prepare for this year's test." The old man said. As soon as he spoke, no one else dared to say anything. One of them walked up to the high platform in front of the academy and waved his hand. Everyone present quieted down. "Welcome everyone to the Heavenly Sect's enrollment this year." The teacher's voice wasn't loud, but it spread to every corner. "But that doesn't mean that you'll be members of my academy just because you're here today. If you want to join the academy, you must pass our test. Only after passing the test can you become a student of the academy." After he finished speaking, he paused for a moment, looked around at everyone present, and said, "I just made a visual estimate. There are at least 50,000 people here this time, but you all know the academy's rules. They only accept a fixed number of people. Whether or not you can enter this quota will depend on your own ability." The people below began to whisper to each other. Many of them were worried about whether they would be able to enter the quota. Quiet. He waited for everyone to quiet down before continuing. The assessment this time is divided into 3 stages. Only after passing all 3 stages can you be considered to have passed our assessment. Now you can go to the first stage. After saying that, everyone saw a silver light shining under their feet. Before they could figure out what the first test was, they disappeared. Sima Yue felt dizzy. When she regained her balance, she was alone in the desert. She looked around, but there was no one around. The scorching sun above her head was scorching the earth, causing the sand to become boiling hot. The whole environment was like a huge steamer. Illusion? She thought about it carefully. Apart from this, she could not find any other explanation for the sudden change. I don't know if this is an illusion created by an illusory array or some other spirit artifact. But it's so realistic. It really makes me feel hot. Sweat flowed down her bun. She wanted to take out a handkerchief from her spatial ring to wipe it off, but she found that she couldn't communicate with her spatial ring. When she realized this, her heart shook. She sensed the spirit pagoda and found that it couldn't be opened. However, she did not panic. She closed her eyes and cleared her mind. Then, with a thought, a spirit fruit appeared in her hand. She looked at the fresh fruit in her hand and smiled happily. An illusion array is an illusion array. It doesn't exist at all. It wasn't that this space couldn't be connected to the spatial ring, but the illusion array made people think so. Subjectively, people thought that it couldn't be connected. However, objectively speaking, as long as one emptied one's mind and did not think that one was in an illusion, one would be able to take out the items in the spatial ring. If those people thought that they couldn't communicate with their spatial rings, they would definitely panic. Then, passing the test in such an environment would indeed be more difficult. Could it be that the test this time is to walk out of this desert? As she ate the spirit fruit, the uncomfortable feeling in her body subsided. Only then did she calm down and think about the content of the assessment. This desert is boundless. It shouldn't be this. Thinking about it again, if it wasn't to walk out, then it should be to see how long one could last here. Those who couldn't meet the requirements would be eliminated. After thinking about it, this was the most reasonable. Since she wasn't in a hurry to find a way out, then she wasn't in a hurry. She stayed in place without moving. She even took out a tent and sat in the tent to meditate and cultivate. At this time, In a room in the Sky Heaven School, a group of teachers surrounded a huge crystal ball and looked at the situation of the examinees. Yo, someone saw through the truth so quickly this time? A flirtatious woman wearing tight red clothes saw the situation in the crystal ball and lowered her head to continue polishing her nails. This reaction is a bit too fast. The other teachers were also curious. The people who went in before didn't react as quickly as him. And looking at him, he should have guessed what the test is about. From the moment she made contact with the spatial ring, the people in the room had already noticed her. To be able to react in half an hour was unprecedented, especially when they saw her setting up a tent and taking out spirit fruits to eat one after another. Then she leisurely meditated. Everyone in the room had a strange expression. This brat passed this test too easily. That's right, in their eyes, being able to make contact with the spatial ring was already half of the test. This was because most people would store water in their spatial ring. As long as there was water, they would be able to survive here. Then the condition of staying here for 10 days was not difficult for her. He's an array master. The old man from before opened his eyes and looked at the crystal ball and said with certainty, to be able to react so quickly, his array skills shouldn't be low. Is he really less than 100 years old? The glazed mirage can only be entered by people under 100 years old. Since he can enter, he must be under 100 years old. He should only be in his 20s. The white-clothed old man said. 20s. The other teachers in the room exclaimed softly. How could someone in their 20s have such high array skills? But if the vice principal said so, then it should be so. 20s, this talent is simply heaven-defying. The teachers came back to their senses and looked at Sima Yue with a burning gaze. This was a prodigy among prodigies. At this moment, Sima Yue suddenly felt like she was being watched by many people. She opened her eyes and looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, she stopped cultivating with a puzzled gaze. What a sharp little fellow. The vice principal saw Sima Yue's alertness and nodded his head in satisfaction. They were just looking at her, but she actually felt it. This was not something an ordinary person could have. Since that's the case, let's send her to the next stage of the test earlier. One of the teachers said. I agree. The first stage of the test is already useless. She can go to the next stage earlier. The vice principal's eyes flashed. He nodded his head and stroked his long beard, saying, then let's send her to the second stage of the test. Oh, we'll send 5 for the first time. I wonder how this little fellow will react, hee. Ever since Sima Yue felt that someone was watching her, she stopped cultivating. However, she did not know how long she would have to stay here. She wanted to find something to do, so she took out some array stones and fiddled with them. Sha sha, sha sha. Hearing the soft sounds from the desert, her lips curled into a faint smile. Chapter 540. Rustle, rustle. The sound from the yellow sand did not make Sima Yue panic. She just sat in the tent and looked outside leisurely. Kacha, the sound of pincers opening and closing could be heard. Then, one by one, large red pincers emerged from the yellow sand, followed by a 1 to 2 foot long red scorpion. Kacha, Kacha. 5 red scorpions surrounded Sima Yue and her tent in the middle, each of their eyes shining with hunger. Such large scorpions, I don't know if they're real or just illusions. It would be great if they're real. Sima Yue touched her chin and pondered while looking at the red scorpions. Seeing that Sima Yue seemed to have ideas about them, the red scorpions were furious. One of them waved its large pincers and the other 4 immediately attacked her. Sima Yue did not hesitate as she condensed a fireball and threw it at the red scorpions. Poochie, the fireball hit the red scorpions, but it only made their movements pause for a moment. It did not cause any substantial damage to them. Immune to fire? Sima Yue looked at the red scorpions in astonishment as she dodged the poison they spat out. Because a few of them were attacking her at the same time, she was careless and her clothes were swept by the poison. Immediately, a large hole was corroded. Damn, it hurts. The hem of the shirt brushed against her leg, and a burning pain spread all over her body. What a poisonous liquid. If this was real, it would be best to use it to refine the poison. Thinking of this, her eyes lit up. She leaped and quickly jumped out of the red scorpion's heads and went outside. Since you're immune to fire, try something else. She formed a seal with her hands and a metal whip quickly appeared in front of her. She grabbed the whip and quickly swung it at the red scorpions. If she guessed correctly, these red scorpions should have lived under the desert and were exposed to high temperatures all year round, so they gradually became immune to fire. Fire and metal were the two attributes with the most attacking power. Since the fire attribute was useless, she would choose the metal attribute. Pa! The whip hit a red scorpion and the barbs on the whip directly pierced through its shell and into its flesh. She withdrew her whip, and blood flowed out from its body. Chi! A scorpion ambushed her and spat venom at her. She quickly dodged to the side. The venom landed on the yellow sand and emitted a corrosive smell. They're bullying us with numbers. She snorted and brandished her whip. In an instant, it coiled around a red scorpion. Then, with a forceful swing, that scorpion was flung far away by her. She rolled and flung again. Within a few breaths, the 3 scorpions were flung away by her, preventing them from coming back to attack her. Afterwards, she continued to deal with the remaining 2 red scorpions. Every time the whip landed on their bodies, they would feel excruciating pain. One of the weaker ones was whipped to death by her. The other one was a little stronger. She used the whip to trap it, then formed a seal with both hands. A long sword was formed and then fiercely pierced towards the red scorpion, directly piercing through its head and into its tail. The red scorpion struggled on the ground for a bit before dying. At this time, the other 3 crawled back. Seeing that their comrade had died, the 3 red scorpions went crazy and attacked her together. This time, other than their venom, they also attacked with their spiritual energy. Sima Yue formed a protective layer around her body. Then, she concentrated on forming seals. Small swords were formed one by one, and under her control, they flew towards the red scorpions. Clang! The red scorpions waved their claws to knock the small swords away, or spat out venom to corrode the small swords. However, Sima Yue did not hold back this time. In an instant, she created dozens of small swords. Although some were knocked away, there were still many that pierced the red scorpions. Those 3 red scorpions lost their ability to move. After 2 more stabs from her, they fell to the yellow sand and stopped moving. The mentors outside the crystal ball saw her performance and nodded in satisfaction. Her fighting strength is not bad. Usually, people of this age would be more flustered when they were surrounded. Once they panicked, their fighting strength would drop, and it was very likely that they would be injured by the red scorpions. Although this glazed illusion would not kill anyone under their control, the pain within was still self-evident. And from the very beginning, she wanted to scatter her opponents and defeat them one by one. That thought was admirable. Seeing Sima Yue pick up a red scorpion and close her eyes to empty her mind, one of the mentors asked, "What is she planning to do?" "She probably wants to see if these red scorpions are real," someone guessed. Sure enough, when Sima Yue opened her eyes again, she saw that the red scorpions were still there. She was extremely happy and carried the 5 red scorpions' corpses back into the tent. Sima Yue placed the 5 red scorpions side by side on the ground. Squatting beside one of them, she pried open the shell on its tail and checked its poison gland. What a good thing! Thinking about the poison that continuously attacked her just now, she was extremely curious. Taking out a pair of scissors, she cut off the poison gland. Once this thing is refined, it will definitely be a good thing for poison people. I really didn't expect that the spirit beasts here are actually real. She took out a pill furnace and threw the snipped poison gland inside. Then she heated it up and refined it. Soon, the poison in the poison gland was completely refined by her. Next was the second one, the third one. She's an alchemist. The alchemy mentor said in astonishment when he saw Sima Yue's proficient movements. She's an alchemist? That's right. Look at her technique. It's indeed the technique of refining medicinal ingredients. The alchemy mentor said, And this technique should be a lost technique. Looking at her, her alchemy level shouldn't be low. Old Moo, what level do you think her alchemy is? It shouldn't be lower than level 5. Old Moo, who was the alchemy mentor, said. Around 20 years old, level 5. Her talent should be considered not bad, but not particularly outstanding. Old Moo glanced at that person and said, don't forget, other than being an alchemist, she's also an array master. Moreover, her array skills are so high. She's both an array master and an alchemist. Looks like our academy has a good seedling this time, the vice principal said with a smile. Some of the other people's performance is also not bad. Song Lang Li and Ryu and the others also quickly reacted. It's just that they haven't discovered the essence of this illusion, so they haven't connected with their spatial rings yet. Where did these people come from? Someone actually managed to connect with their spatial rings. That old man closed his eyes and thought for a while. The scene from before appeared in his mind. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, these people were standing with that little guy before. It seems like they're together. But where did this group of people come from? They're actually not bad. Could it be that they're from some big family? We'll find out when we investigate later. Let's continue watching. Alright, send some spirit beasts to play with that little guy. The vice principal instructed. Chapter 541. Just for fun, hearing the vice principal's words, all the mentors felt sorry for Sima Yue. She had caught the vice principal's attention. Dance Rua starter, but such students would often lead a more miserable life because this vice principal liked to play. Even though his fighting prowess would increase by leaps and bounds while having fun, the process, Sima Yue had just finished extracting the red scorpion's poison reading ability when she felt something approaching her. This time, it was even more ferocious. 10 red scorpions came directly, and their strength was even higher than before. This time, she didn't dare to fight alone. She called Little Peng to fight with her. Against this kind of spirit beast, Little Rock was the most suitable. Golden-winged Great Rock. Everyone in the house cried out when they saw Little Rock. Looks like we know who this person is. The contractor of the Golden-winged Rock. I didn't expect him to be so young. The red lips of the teacher in the red dress parted slightly. After the shock in her eyes, there was a strong interest. I've always heard that a golden-winged great rock has appeared in the rock world. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, its aura is indeed extraordinary. This little fellow, not only is his talent not bad, he even has such a contracted beast. This kid is extraordinary. Vice Principal, I think we can directly recruit her. We can't miss out on such a talented person. I agree. What's the hurry? The Vice Principal leaned back in his soft chair. If she's really talented, she'll be able to pass the next 2 tests. If she really enters the school, do we need to notify the inner courtyard? Someone asked. Let's talk about it later, the Vice Principal said and closed his eyes again. The second batch of red scorpions were all killed. Sima Yue realized that this time was different from before. Among the 10 red scorpions, only 5 were real, and the other 5 were just illusions. F***C, are you kidding me? Sima Yue cursed, but she still took the 5 real red scorpions and refined them. After an unknown amount of time, more spirit beasts approached. This time, it was not a red scorpion, but a bunch of pythons. These pythons were all torn in half by Sima Yue and Little Rock. I wonder how the pythons in the desert taste. Sima Yue said and took out some water to clean the python. Then, she took out some pots and pans and started to make snake soup. In addition, he took out a barbecue rack and roasted a piece of meat. Smelling the fragrance of the snake meat, she leisurely hummed a little tune, completely unaware that her every move was clearly seen by the teacher outside. She's so carefree. The teachers laughed and scolded her when they saw that she was in such a leisurely mood. Although the python grew in the desert, its meat was tender and delicious. With her cooking skills, the snake soup and roasted snake meat tasted delicious. Carrying all these cooking utensils with him, this kid must be a foodie. Sima Yue was leisurely enjoying her food. Suddenly, she frowned and stuffed the barbecued meat into her mouth. Is there an end to this? As soon as she finished speaking, monsters made of yellow sand appeared one after another. Suddenly, they rose from the ground, each of them a few meters tall. Their mouths and eyes were empty, and yellow sand kept falling from their bodies. At first glance, it was obvious that they were not normal spirit beasts. Holy **T, what kind of spiritual beast is this? Sima Yue smelled a peculiar aura when she saw the spiritual beast. These spirit beasts were so strange. She could feel violence and killing intent from these spirit beasts, as if they were brainless creatures. Their empty eyes looked at her as if they were looking at a dead person. A dead person? She wondered who would be dead. When the teachers outside saw the spirit beasts, they exclaimed, "Who released the yellow sand beasts?" Not us. The two teachers in charge of this area shook their heads. They had only released a few spirit beasts to tease Sima Yue. No one had released the yellow sand beasts. Oh no, the glazed illusion is out of control. The girl in red stood up and slammed the table. What's going on? It seems that someone has cut off our connection with the glazed illusion. Someone must have done something inside. The spirit beasts inside are also out of control. The vice principal's face was no longer as relaxed as before. He stood up, reached out his hand, and the huge crystal ball appeared in front of him. He pressed both hands on the crystal ball and injected spiritual energy into it, attempting to control the glazed illusion again. The teachers in the room looked at him nervously. They didn't dare to make a sound for fear of disturbing him. After a while, the vice principal opened his eyes. With a shake of his hands, the crystal ball returned to its original position. The glazed illusion has been connected, but we can only control the remaining spirit beasts. We can't control the ones that came out before. The teacher said, "Look at the situation inside. Get those who are on the verge of death out. As for the rest, just treat it as a test." The vice principal sat down. "Send someone to investigate who dares to tamper with the enrollment of the heavenly sect." "Yes, vice principal." The two of them left the room. The people in the glazed illusion didn't know about the dangerous situation just now. When they saw the spirit beasts, they thought it was the Academy's assessment. They didn't think that someone had set them up and almost made them unable to come out. During this period of time, nearly 1,000 people had died an unnatural death. The Academy quietly took out their corpses. The teachers didn't dare to be careless. They paid full attention to the situation inside. Once someone was about to die, they would get them out. When those people came out, they knew that they had lost their qualifications. But at least they were alive, so they weren't so depressed. Sima Yue looked at the yellow sand beasts in front of her that couldn't be killed. She was worried. She had encountered such a difficult spirit beast. She didn't know how the others were doing. Actually, the others weren't as unlucky as her. They went in alone. Although the teleportation was random, most people went in with a few or even tens of people. Only a few people went in alone. And she was one of those lone Dido. Fatty Chu and the others had 6 people. Sima Yulin and the others weren't with them, but they were with others. That was why she was the unluckiest. Yu, these spirit beasts seem to be made of yellow sand. Even if we hit them, they can recover immediately. Our attacks are useless. Little Rock said, "That's right, Master. My flames are useless against them." Yaguang said. When she heard what Little Rock and the others said, Sima Yue's heart sank. She realized this as well. She had just chopped off the head of a yellow sand beast, but it was as if nothing had happened to it. The yellow sand rolled and rolled, and another head grew. "I have to find a way." She thought about it and called out Chongming. When Little Rock evolved into the golden-winged rock, Chongming also received some bloodline power. Recently, he had been digesting this power. That was why Sima Yue rarely let him out to fight. Now it seemed that he was the most suitable. Chapter 542. Chongming, sorry to trouble you. Chongming nodded. He formed a seal with both hands and waved them, isolating all the yellow sand beasts. Those yellow sand beasts did not breathe to begin with, so even after being isolated, they did not immediately die. However, due to the restriction of space, he was unable to move at all. Sima Yue watched as Chongming imprisoned them but did not kill them. He sat down on the ground and panted heavily. These spirit beasts have no life and will never die. It's useless to imprison them like this. We have to think of a way, Sai. Chongming also needed spiritual power to support them, so it was impossible to imprison them forever. He had to think of a way to solve it. She sat on the ground and thought for a long time. She reached out to grab the hot yellow sand and said, "These are all monsters formed by the yellow sand. They will either destroy the world or destroy the yellow sand. But there's too much yellow sand, and it's impossible to destroy it. So, we can only destroy this world." Everyone in the room couldn't help but raise their eyebrows when they heard her words. What was this little guy trying to do? If this heaven and earth were to be destroyed, then wouldn't the academy suffer a great loss? Everyone turned to look at the vice president. That fellow calmly waved his hand and said, "It's fine. She's not that capable." The glazed illusion was now under the control of the vice principal. If he said it was fine, then it was fine. As expected, Sima Yue paused for a moment after saying those words, then said, "This world cannot be destroyed. The things in the academy are definitely not that weak. Don't tell me there's no other way?" "Master, wouldn't it be gone if we moved the yellow sand away?" Ye Guang said. "Move away?" Sima Yue's eyes lit up. She stood up and dusted off the yellow sand on her hands. "That's right. Even if we can't kill them, we can still take them away." "Good job, Ye Guang. Actually, if these yellow sand beasts were brought into the spirit pagoda, they could be dealt with immediately." However, she wasn't sure if the people from the academy could see the situation here. If they could, then the matter of the spirit pagoda would be exposed. She took out an array stone and set up an array around the yellow sand beasts. "Master, where are you taking these yellow sand beasts?" Ye Guang saw that Sima Yue was able to set up an array in such a short period of time. He thought that it must not be a good place. Otherwise, it would take her a long time to calculate the coordinates. Sima Yue patted Ye Guang's head and said, "Send them to a good place. Chongming, the moment I activate the array formation, you can break the space imprisonment." Chongming nodded. Sima Yue picked up the last formation stone, injected her spiritual power into it and placed it on one of the corners of the pentagram. The formation was activated and the silver light flowed along the lines of the pentagram before flowing into the other complicated lines. Chongming release. As soon as Sima Yue spoke, Chongming released the space shackles. The moment the yellow sand beasts pounced on her, they all disappeared. The light disappeared, and the desert became quiet again. "Master is so powerful." Ye Guang jumped and said, "Master, since there are no more enemies, I'll go back first. My fur is about to be burnt." Sima Yue thought about the high temperature of the yellow sand. Even if Ye Guang's skin was thick, it would be uncomfortable to step on, so she kept him back. "Yu, where did you send them?" Little Rock transformed into his mimicry form and landed on Chongming's shoulder as he asked. If the place they were sent to happened to have someone, then the other party would be in trouble. How could I harm others? Even if I don't know them and they have nothing to do with me, what if they were sent to my brother's side? Sima Yue said, "I sent them to the void." Chongming was not too surprised by this answer. This was quite her style. "What do you plan to do next? Or do you want to stay here?" But Sima Yue had not finished speaking when she felt movement in her space ring. She took out a piece of jade and saw 2 small dots on it, saying, "We're not going to wait here. Yulin is not far from us. Let's go find him." Chongming transformed into her original form and flew in a direction with Sima Yue and Little Rock. She lowered her head and looked at the jade. It showed that they were quite far away. Fortunately, the other party seemed to have noticed her approach and rushed in her direction. However, their speed was obviously much slower, as if they were being held back by something. "Chongming, hurry up. They seem to have met with trouble." Sima Yue said anxiously. "All right." Chongming flapped her wings and increased her speed. In the room, the teachers watched as Chongming flew in the air with Sima Yue. They were already numb to the shock she gave them. 3 contracted beasts, and they're all sacred beasts. Aren't they afraid of being devoured? Since she can become an alchemist and array master, her divine sense is naturally extraordinary. It's normal for her to be able to contract a few sacred beasts at the same time. She was able to set up a teleportation array in such a short time. She even thought of sending the yellow sand beasts into the void. It's really rare. Those yellow sand beasts will become a handful of yellow sand once they go into the void. What are you chatting about? Pay attention to the situation in the illusion. If anyone dies again, I'll stuff you all in. The vice principal said as he shook his beard. Although they knew that the vice principal was joking, everyone still stopped joking and paid attention to the situation in the illusion. There was no night or sunrise. Sima Yue didn't know how long she had been flying before she finally saw Sima Yulin and the others. What surprised her was that Sima Yuqi and the other 3 brothers, Wei Ziqi and the other 3, Sima Yulin and Little 2 were all together. They were fighting a group of yellow sand beasts. Was she the only one who had been left far behind? It would be great if we could fix them in place, then use a teleportation array to send them away. Otherwise, they won't die or be injured. Our spirit energy will be exhausted. Sima Yulin said when he saw that the yellow sand beasts' heads had grown back after being chopped off. Everyone was already exhausted. But we have no way to fix them in place. Fatty Chu blew up a yellow sand beast with a punch and watched them turn into a pile of yellow sand. Then, in a very short period of time, they condensed together again. You guys hold them back. I'll set up a teleportation array over there and lure them over. Sima Yulin said, will this method work? Whether it works or not, we can only try. You guys, all the yellow sand beasts froze in place. They were in all kinds of positions. It was as if time had stopped. Bei Gong Tang looked at the frozen yellow sand beasts and subconsciously looked behind her. She saw a familiar figure. Sima Yue sat on Chongming and looked at everyone who was stunned. She said, Yulin, didn't you say you were going to set up a teleportation array? Why aren't you doing it? Chongming won't be able to hold on for long with so many beasts. Chapter 543. Everyone was excited to see Sima Yue, especially when she came to stop the yellow sand beasts that had exhausted them, giving them a chance to catch their breath. It had to be said that she came at the right time. Sima Yue let the Chongming fly in the air. She estimated the number of stones and the distance between each of them. She took out a pile of array stones and threw them in all directions. When the last one was left, she let the Chongming land. She injected her spiritual power into it and threw it into the ground. Seeing that the array was starting to activate, Sima Yulu and the others who were still at the edge of the array hurriedly ran away. If they were teleported away together, who knew where they would end up? Chongming. Sima Yue waited for the formation to activate and shouted. Chongming immediately activated the space imprisonment. Before the yellow sand beasts could react, they were all transported away. Yu is still the best. Wei Ziqi saw that the yellow sand beasts were really gone, and sat down on the ground. That's right, these things have been pestering us for a long time. Even when we rode on flying beasts, we were unable to shake them off. Fatty Chu said, Yue, how did you know we were here? I'm looking at Jade. Sima Yue said in surprise, aren't you walking in my direction? Don't you know? Everyone looked at Sima Yulin. He shrugged his shoulders, saying, I was so shaken by the yellow sand beast that I didn't even have the strength to fight back. How would I have the energy to look at the jade? Sima Yue was speechless. It turned out that they were running in this direction and did not know that she was approaching them. Fortunately, they were heading in the right direction. If they had fled in the opposite direction, it would have taken him a long time to find them. By the way, why are you all together? Did you come in together? No. Sima Yuran shook his head, saying, in the beginning, we were separated as well. However, we weren't too far apart from each other, so we slowly gathered together. We were just talking about how you're the only one missing. But we all know what you're capable of, so we're not that worried. If it was anyone else who was alone, they might have gone to look for them. But thinking that it was her, they didn't even look for her. Sima Yue looked at her brother with resentment. Finally, she said, "You all recover your spiritual energy first." She saw that everyone had taken out pills from their interspatial rings and knew that they had discovered the essence of the illusion to recover, so she stood guard for them. While everyone was resting, she looked at the boundless desert. She wondered when the assessment would end. Bei Gongtang was the first to recover. Seeing Sima Yu sitting on the sand dune, she walked over and said, "What did you go through by yourself?" Sima Yu told her about the few times she had met spirit beasts, and Bei Gongtang was rather surprised. And Yue to Sima, "You didn't encounter it? We've also encountered it, but it's only been 2 days. We haven't encountered it before." Bei Gongtang said, "Furthermore, we haven't encountered any spirit beasts before we met up." Am I the only one who encountered it?" Sima Yu rubbed her nose. "That's possible." Sima Yue was speechless. Is it because my luck is too bad? Or is it because someone is controlling this place and doesn't like me, so they threw some spirit beasts to deal with me? The instructors in the room looked down, and no one said a word. This was the vice principal's order. It had nothing to do with us. Don't blame us if you don't choose our academy. Sima Yue had no idea what the teachers were thinking. She also didn't know that the spirit beasts were arranged by someone. She was still thinking about when the first round of the exam would be over. "Yue, I feel that these spirit beasts are a little strange." Bei Gongtang said. "How so?" "It feels like they suddenly appeared. It's like they were locked in a cage before, and then suddenly ran out uncontrollably." Bei Gongtang said what she felt. "This is the first round of the academy's exam. Although I don't know where it is, it should be under the control of the academy. There shouldn't be any accidents." Sima Yue said. "What you said is possible, but we have no way to prove it." "You're right." Bei Gongtang nodded and didn't think about it anymore. After that, everyone woke up one by one. Their injuries were healed and their spirit energy was restored. They looked very energetic. "Brother, where are we going now?" Little Two came to Sima Yue's side and asked. Sima Yue looked at everyone and said, "This desert is boundless. It doesn't matter where we go." Brother Yu Lin and Brother Yu Ran said before that the exam this time should be to test how long we can stay here. So it doesn't matter where we go. That's why we didn't run around aimlessly like the others. Sima Yue knew that with Sima Yu Lin and third brother's intelligence, they should be able to guess what the exam was about. Since everyone thought the same, the possibility of it happening was much higher. "Then let's wait." Sima Yue said, "The last time I killed a few spirit snakes, they tasted pretty good. Let's eat them in a while. This spirit snake meat is pretty good for increasing spirit energy." Okay. Sima Yue took out a few spirit snake corpses. With the safety of the interspatial ring, these spirit snakes were pretty much the same as when they had just died. The blood had not even solidified yet and was still fresh. She handed the spirit snake corpses to Fatty Chu and the others to clean up. After they were done, everyone started to cook. When they found out that these were the spirit beasts that Sima Yue had encountered before, everyone laughed at her for her bad character. Otherwise, why would she be the only one who encountered it when no one else encountered it? Sima Yue had been criticized too much. Could it be that she had done something immoral recently that caused her character to drop? Compared to them who were happily eating, the other examinees were much more unlucky. Without the interspatial spirit beasts, they had no way of getting rid of those yellow sand beasts. They also had no way of escaping from their pursuers. In the end, they were killed until they were completely exhausted before they were thrown out, losing the right to continue the exam. Those who were lucky did not encounter any yellow sand beasts. However, because they did not understand the essence of the illusion, they did not eat or drink for the past few days. Furthermore, they were in such a harsh environment. They were exhausted. In the end, they could not take it anymore and were thrown out. There were also some who did not encounter any yellow sand beasts, but encountered other spirit beasts. Although they killed the spirit beasts in the end, they were heavily injured. However, they were still able to hold on and were not thrown out. After an unknown amount of time, Sima Yue and the others had not even finished eating their snake meat when they heard a low roar approaching them. "It's a yellow sand beast." Sima Yue ran and the others' expressions changed. They were very familiar with the sound that had been chasing them for a few days. Someone must have been chased by a yellow sand beast and is running towards us. Chapter 544. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a sky full of yellow sand. It had an aura that seemed like it was going to devour the entire world. In front of the yellow sand, a group of black dots was moving quickly. If they saw such a scene on any other day, they would definitely say that it was beautiful. However, no one could say anything today. They could only subconsciously swallow their saliva. My goodness, why are these yellow sand beasts bigger than the others? Sima Yue looked at Chongming. He nodded at her and she finally relaxed. The speed of both parties was very fast, and it didn't take long for them to see the figures of the people flying in front of them. "They're all divine overlords," Bei Gongtang said. When those people saw Sima Yue, they shouted, "Run! Don't just stand there, run!" Seeing that they didn't move, those people became anxious. A woman shouted, "Are you stupid? Hurry up and run!" Behind them was a row of yellow sand beasts. They could only move forward and could not change direction. They could only watch as they and the yellow sand beasts got closer and closer to the group. They were so close that they could see each other's faces clearly. One of the men in blue saw that Sima Yue and the others had not moved and thought that they were too scared to react. He cursed in his heart, but he still stopped and turned to face the group of yellow sand beasts. "You guys go first, I'll hold them back." "Don't be silly. How can you deal with them alone?" The woman from before roared at the blue-clothed man. "There's nothing we can do about it. Drag it out for as long as you can. Hurry up and leave." The blue-clothed man roared. "I'll stay with you. Everyone else, hurry up and leave." The woman shouted at the others, turned around and flew back, fighting side by side with the blue-clothed man. The others hesitated for a moment before flying back. "Why did you come back? How could we leave you behind?" The blue-clothed man was hit by the yellow sand beast and rolled a few times on the ground, landing at the feet of a yellow sand beast. Tuoba Han. Everyone was scared silly by this turn of events. If the yellow sand beast raised its foot, he would definitely be dead. Tuoba Han. Everyone attacked the yellow sand beast in an attempt to save it, but their attacks were useless against it. Instead, they were sent flying by the other yellow sand beasts. Tuoba Han was hit in the waist, and the heart-wrenching pain made it impossible for him to stand up. He raised his head and saw the huge foot of the yellow sand beast, and his eyes flashed with unwillingness. Was he going to die here? The giant foot was getting closer and closer to him, and his pupils were gradually filled with yellow sand. He wanted to close his eyes and wait for death, but he found that the foot of the yellow sand beast had stopped less than a foot away from him. Then he heard a pleasant voice. Only then did he realize that he had been saved. There are too many yellow sand beasts and too much space. Chongming won't be able to hold on for long. Yulin, you and I will set up the array. The others will help these people to a safe place. Quick. After Sima Yu finished her instructions, she jumped onto Chongming's back. Sima Yu also called out his own flying beast and flew into the air, setting up a teleportation array with Sima Yu. Wei Ziqi and the others were not slow either. They quickly ran over and helped all the injured people up, and quickly left Sima Yu's area of effect. Until they were far away from the yellow sand beasts, these people still did not realize how quickly the situation had changed. But they knew that they had been saved. When they saw the two throwing the array stones in the air, it was the first time they knew that an array could be set up like this. Tuoba Han was the most seriously injured, and the others gave him pills before eating them themselves. They originally wanted to ask about the situation, but when they saw Wei Ziqi and the others looking at the two in the air, they tactfully shut their mouths. After setting up the array, Sima Yu and Sima Yulin returned to the ground and activated the array. Roar! The yellow sand beasts roared the moment they regained their freedom. But before they could move, the array sent them into the void. Huff! Sima Yu let out a long breath of turbid air and walked over. I am Tuoba Yin Air, thank you for saving me. If it were not for you, we would have died today. The girl cupped her hands towards Sima Yu. Sima Yu. Sima Yu replied. Even without us, I think the sect would not leave you in the lurch. Death is not so easy. She was willing to save them because she saw that the other party had no intention of dragging them down. Coming here was an unintentional act. Seeing that they were here, the other party actually went back to resist and stall for time. This showed that they were not bad people. Secondly, she saw that they had a close relationship with each other, which was very similar to her own team, so she wanted to help. Anyway, if they died, those yellow sand beasts would still come to deal with her, so she might as well do them a favor. Both parties got to know each other. The blue-clothed man was Tuoba Han. Other than Tuoba Yen Air, the other three were Feng Wuhen, Wang Kai and Mu Lin. Hearing Feng Wuhen's self-introduction, Sima Yu looked at him discreetly. She did not know if he and Feng Zhixing were from the same family. Tuoba family, is it the Eastern Ridges Tuoba family? She looked at Tuoba Han and Tuoba Yen Air and asked. Yes, you know about the inner regions? Perhaps it was because she was grateful that they saved her life. Tuoba Yen Air did not hide her identity. Eastern Ridges Tuoba family, Northern Deserts Tsang Lang family, Western Liang's Mo family, Southern Desolation's Hong family. The four great families are so famous, it's normal that we know about them. Sima Yu said. The four great families were strong, and were not inferior to those halls and valleys. She had thought more than once about how many years it would take for such a big family to grow so strong. Later on, she found out that the four great clans were not considered the largest clans. In unknown places, there were clans that had been passed down from ancient times. These clans had even more honorable statuses on the continent. However, they did not often roam the world, so they were called the hidden clans. I heard that Western Liang and Northern Desert sent geniuses, and now Eastern Ridge sent people. I didn't think that the sect would attract so many geniuses this time. Sima Yulin said. Although the heavenly sect is in the outer regions, its reputation is not small in the inner regions. We also came because of its reputation. Tuoba Yen Air explained. Sima Yu and the others did not completely believe her, but they did not say anything. The geniuses from all over the place came to the sect, but it had nothing to do with them. His injuries are quite serious, it's best to let me take a look at him. Sima Yu said to Tuoba Han. Since Tuoba Han was as famous as Tsang Lang Li, it was not a bad thing to form a good relationship with him. You know medicine? Feng Wuhen looked at Sima Yu with surprise. A little. Sima Yu said. Then I'll have to trouble young Master Yu. Tuoba Han said. Sima Yu stretched out her hand to take Tuoba Han's pulse. She felt the situation in his body and looked at him suspiciously. Chapter 545. Book title, Brought Out of Mother's Womb. Author Sima Yue looked at Tuoba Han, and Tuoba Han looked back at her. Both of them looked at each other. Young Master Yue, how is he? Tuoba Yen Air asked with concern. Sima Yue retracted her gaze and smiled at Tuoba Yen Air, saying, I injured the tendons and bones of the lumbar spine, so I need to insert a few needles. If I only rely on medicinal pills, my recovery will be slower. Acupuncture? What is that? Saitoba Yenner asked. I used silver needles to prick his acupuncture points to dredge his meridians, Sima Yue explained simply. I once heard that the miss of the Shiman clan of the southern wasteland has a unique set of silver needles for treatment. Did you use the same method as her? Mu Lin looked straight at Sima Yue. The world is so big, maybe it's the same. Sima Yue did not deny it. Really? Tuoba Yen Air looked at Sima Yue. Then can I trouble you to perform acupuncture on him? That's not a problem, but the environment isn't very good. Let's set up a tent. Sima Yue stood up and said. That's easy. Feng Wuhan, Wang Kai, and Mu Lin worked together and quickly set up the tent. Then, they took out a bed and helped Tuoba Han lie on it. Sima Yue chased everyone out, leaving the two of them alone in the tent. Bei Gong Tang saw the look in her eyes when she went out, so she said to Tuoba Yen Er, "Before you came, we just happened to get some good stuff. Do you want to come with us?" "Good stuff? Let's go. You guys have just experienced such a huge shock. Go eat something good and drink some wine to calm your nerves," Bei Gong Tang said as she pulled Tuoba Yen Er to the place where they had barbecued meat. When Feng Wuhan and Wang Kai saw that Tuoba Yen Er had gone over, they followed her. After all, there was no point in staying here. After everyone had left, Sima Yue came to the bedside and sat down. She lifted the clothes on the back of the bed, but she was not in a hurry to insert the needle. "Thank you." Tuoba Han's voice was warm and magnetic, making people feel that he was a gentle person, which didn't match his name at all. "What are you thanking me for?" Sima Yue took out the box containing the silver needles and said calmly, "Keep it a secret for me," Tuoba Han said with a smile. Sima Yue smiled. When she was examining Tuoba Han, she could tell from Tuoba Yen Er's expression that she did not know about it. Furthermore, she could see a faint pleading in Tuoba Han's eyes, hoping that she would not reveal his physical condition. "I'm a little curious. With your body like this, why are you still here?" She took out a silver needle and inserted it into an acupuncture point on his waist. "Naturally, it is to survive," Tuoba Han said. He felt a little strange. He had just met Sima Yue, but he felt a sense of familiarity with her. He did not mind telling her these things, and he subconsciously believed that she would help him keep the secret. It turned out that his intuition was right. She didn't tell him about his situation and helped him keep it a secret. "Survive? You can survive just by coming here?" Sima Yue was a little confused. "The Tuoba family is so big, can't they solve your problem? If they could, I wouldn't have come here. Do you think that I am like those people who came here for?" Tuoba Han paused and did not continue speaking. Sima Yue held the silver needle and slowly inserted it, thinking about his words. It seemed that the reason why those people from the central regions came here was not as simple as it seemed. "Are you poisoned?" she asked. "I was born in my mother's womb." Tuoba Han did not avoid this as he said. Sima Yue knew that there were many such things in large families like theirs. Wasn't the poison in her body also from her mother's womb? It caused the original body to be unable to cultivate. She could only cultivate after crossing over and getting rid of the poison. Perhaps it was because they were fellow sufferers, but when she inserted the needles, she inserted a little more. After she was done, she said, "I've helped you suppress the poison in your body. Take this pill, and the poison won't act up for half a year." Tuoba Han took the pill and looked at it. He did not ask anything and ate the pill. Sima Yue saw him eat the pill so quickly and raised her eyebrows. "Aren't you afraid that it's poison? Even if it's poison, can it be more poisonous than the one in my body?" Tuoba Han moved his body and realized that his waist did not hurt as much. It seemed that this acupuncture method was really powerful. Sima Yue finally took a good look at his appearance. Although he wasn't the type of handsome, he was the type that made people feel comfortable. "Your medical skills are very good," he said. "I have good talent," a certain someone said narcissistically. Tuoba Han laughed out loud. She was really not modest. How could Sima Yue not understand the meaning behind his laughter? But she had no choice. She couldn't say that she had lived for 3 lifetimes and accumulated experience, right? "Can you help me detoxify the poison?" After Tuoba Han asked this question, he laughed at himself. Although her medical skills were very good, this poison of his, if not for the family's doctor saying that this was the only way, he would not have come here. "It's not like you don't have a way," Sima Yue said. "You have a way?" "I'm not sure yet," Sima Yue said, "but it doesn't seem very troublesome. I can help you when I have time. But I'm not doing it for free. If you can help me detoxify the poison, I will definitely give you a satisfactory reward," Tuoba Han said with certainty. "Okay, it's a promise," Sima Yue said with a smile. "But before that, You have to keep it a secret for me. Tuoba Han said, because of some reasons, the family thinks that my poison has been detoxified. Whatever. Anyway, keeping a patient's secret is what a doctor should do. It doesn't affect me much. She replied. She took back all the silver needles and covered his back with his clothes. Then she opened the curtain and went out. When Tuoba Yen Air and the others came back, he had already put on his clothes. Seeing him standing in front of the bed, Wang Kai asked, "Is your injury better?" "At least I can straighten my back," Tuoba Han said as he tidied his clothes. "I didn't expect that kid's medical skills to be so good," Wang Kai said with a smile. "What good food did you guys go out to eat?" Tuoba Han asked. "Oh, Han, it's a pity that you didn't go. The food they make is very delicious. It's not inferior to memory restaurants' dishes at all." "Is that so? I hope I have the chance to try it in the future." Tuoba Han was not regretful. Although he did not eat good food, he found a breakthrough in his body. If she really had a way, it would be best. Even if she didn't, it would be another way. Wei Ziqi and the others took this opportunity to set up their tents. They would probably spend the rest of their days here. Sima Yue gave Tuoba Han another round of acupuncture. Adding on his own recovery and the effects of the pills, he had almost recovered by the time they left the illusion. Gentlemen's Assembly. Chapter 546. On this day, Sima Yu and the others were drinking wine and chatting in the desert. They were lamenting about why the assessment had not ended yet. Following that, the scene changed. They had already left the boundless desert and arrived at a spacious venue. Mobile phone station. "Welcome back." At the start, the tutor swept his gaze across them. The tens of thousands of people had been reduced to 2,000 to 3,000 people, which was less than expected. It was probably because of the change in the middle. "Teacher, have we passed the first round?" a student asked. The tutor nodded and said, "You will have a day to rest and recover from your injuries. You can meditate here or go out, but you must come back here tomorrow at this time. If you miss it, you will be disqualified." After he finished speaking, he turned and left the venue. Most of the people chose to meditate here to recover their strength, and only a few went out. Sima Yue and the rest chose to meditate on the spot. They could not do much outside in a day, so they might as well recover their spiritual energy. A day later, the tutor appeared again and said, "We will now begin the second round of the assessment. Do you see the door behind you?" Everyone turned around and looked at the huge door. For the second round of the assessment, enter the door and walk straight. If you can come out from the other exit after 3 days, you will have passed. If there are too many people, we will only choose the first 1,000. After the tutor finished speaking, the door slowly opened. The inside was filled with thick fog, and the people outside could not see the scenery inside. "Go in." The tutor waved his hand and the students felt a force pushing them into the door. Due to the previous incident, Sima Yue grabbed onto the people beside her. She would not be alone when she went in, right? The moment she passed through the fog, she saw many people disappear in front of her. This fog indeed had the ability to teleport people. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of heavy objects falling to the ground was accompanied by a painful howl. "Oh my God, why are you all so heavy?" Fatty Chu was lying on the ground. The weight of the people on top of him almost made him faint. In order to let everyone be together, they subconsciously held onto the people beside them. Hence, when they entered, they fell together. Fatty Chu was at the bottom, and because of that, he was the one who was crushed the most. Everyone hurriedly got up. Little Tu helped Fatty Chu up and looked at him with his big cute eyes, asking, "Brother Fatty, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Fatty Chu patted the dirt off his body. It was a good thing that he walked the path of body refinement, so his body was stronger than the average person's. Otherwise, he would have been crushed to a pulp. Sima Yue looked around. Luckily, everyone was there. There were some unfamiliar faces further away. "Which direction are we going now?" "We should be in the forest now. The fog is blocking our view. However, you can't just randomly pick a direction. Otherwise, you might get further and further away from the exit. Sima Yuran said. Then let's try using the compass. Sima Yula took out a compass and looked at the compass needle on it. He realized that the needle was spinning in circles and could not be used at all. It should be that the magnetic field here isn't right, Sima Yulin said when he saw the reaction of the compass. Then we can only go in one direction, Sima Yuming said. Sima Yue took out a few scarlet bees and got them to scout the way. She was surprised to find that the fog had no effect on them. It's useful? We should be able to find the exit. Sima Yue nodded. Let's wait here first. After speaking, she called out a few hundred scarlet bees and got them to disguise themselves as normal bees. They went out to scout the way. They waited where they were and were not in a hurry to move forward. After a day, she told everyone that they could leave. Then she led them in one direction. After walking for a day, the fog became thicker. In order to prevent people from getting separated in the fog, they held hands and walked forward. At the end of the second day, they finally saw another door. After walking out of the door, there was a green mountain and clear water. There were 100 people standing by the river. They did not stand out at all. When they turned back to look, how was that a door? It was just a forest. You're out too. Tuoba Yen Air waved at Sima Yue and the others. Sima Yue and the others walked over and realized that they were all there. Have you been out for a long time? We're quite lucky and landed not far from the exit. We came out yesterday. Tuoba Yen Air said, You're not bad too. You came out today. Sima Yue smiled but did not say anything. Was this considered cheating? Thinking about it, it was not. Since the sect had set up such a checkpoint, they must have wanted to see if they had the ability to pass through the maze forest. As for how they did it, it did not matter. 100 people have come out now. I think that by the end of tomorrow, the number will not be small. Sima Yuming said. But it probably won't reach the 1,000 that the sect wants. Feng Wuhen said. It's hard to say now. We'll have to see tomorrow for the specifics. But there should be more people coming out tomorrow. Tuoba Han said. Sima Yue agreed with him. The third day should be when the most people arrived. Most of the people who arrived in the first 2 days relied on luck and trickery. Those people should be out on the third day. A day passed in the blink of an eye. By the end of the third day, there were a total of 800 people who passed the test. Those who did not come out lost their qualifications and were sent out of the sect. Chapter 547. Sima Yue noticed Tuoba Han's expression and asked curiously, What is it? Yue, have you heard of Tong Tian Tower? Tuoba Han looked at the invisible scenery above the clouds. Heavenly Tower? Sima Yue thought about it and shook his head, saying, I came up from the continent below and haven't been here for long. I haven't heard of this before. As a matter of fact, she really didn't know. In the past, when she was the young miss of the Shiman clan, she was more focused on cultivation and didn't pay much attention to the matters of the outside world. It was normal that he didn't know many things. Sky-piercing Tower is located at the top of a tall mountain. As long as you can reach Sky-piercing Tower, you will be able to reach the heavens in the future. But in the past million years, not many people have been able to reach that floor. Tuoba Han said. Sima Yue did not expect there to be such a place. Seeing him looking at the stairs with a yearning expression, she said in surprise, Don't tell me you're talking about this place? This staircase is known as the Heavenly Staircase. There are a total of 9,999 steps. You will reach the Heavenly Tower after walking through the staircase. Tuoba Han said, but in the past 10,000 years, the best result was only 8,000 steps. Sima Yue stared at the stone steps that extended into the clouds. She was skeptical of Tuoba Han's words. Would she be able to reach the sky after walking through the heavenly stairway? Why did it sound so mysterious? Ouyang Fei also voiced out her doubts. Tuoba Han smiled. Actually, it doesn't mean that one can reach that level just by walking the heavenly stairway. It means that the more talented and capable a person is, the higher they can go. Those who are able to climb this heavenly stairway must be extremely talented. So that's how it is. They really thought that they could become gods just by walking up the stairs. Han, let's go too. Wang Kai said to Tuoba Han. Tuoba Han saw that most of the people had gone up and were scattered around the stone steps. If they went up now, it would not be crowded at all. Do you all want to come together? Tuoba Yen Air asked. Let's wait a little longer. Sima Yue said. Then we'll go first. Tuoba Yen Air and the rest went up the stone steps, leaving Sima Yue and the rest to look at the sparse people on the steps. Why is this path able to test how far a person has walked on the path of cultivation? Fatty Chu did not understand. The world is so big, there are many things that we can't explain. Sima Yu said, let's go up. When they stepped on the stairway, they finally understood why those people were walking so slow pace. It was a fact that every step was difficult. Was a Yue. Was Yue. Was just a few steps. It was just a few steps. The Yu and Yuas. Was. Yue was only a few steps. Was only a few steps. But she. Was only a Yue. Was only a few. She a Yue. Yu. They A's and the others. Sima Yue walked up step by step. Slowly, it was as if she only had eyes for the stairs. A voice in her head kept telling her to go up, go up. She overtook the people in front of her one by one. Her companions were also left behind. There weren't many people in front of her. She looked at the backs of those people and knew that they were from the central regions. That person is so strong. She overtook us so quickly. Someone saw Sima Yue walking up without any pressure and sighed. Who is that person? She's walking so fast. Could it be that she can reach the top? When those people saw her, they all seemed to be deep in thought as they made their own plans. Mu Lin and Wang Kai were also overtaken by her. Seeing that her forehead was slightly wrinkled, unlike them who were panting, they were a little surprised. 1,000 steps, 2,000 steps. She seemed to have entered a state of selflessness and didn't notice the strange gazes of the others. Suddenly, she felt her brain heat up and her entire being left that state. Thinking of her appearance just now, she felt a little scared. She was too weak now. If she revealed her talent, it wouldn't be a good thing. Crimson Flame, thank you. She said in her heart. Crimson Flame replied faintly. She turned around and looked. She was already more than 1,000 steps higher than Bei Gong Tang and the others, so she sat where she was and didn't move. More than 1,000 steps. They spent a day to catch up. Most of them didn't even reach this height. Of course, there were many who overtook her again. After they met up, they continued to walk up until they reached the clouds. The people below couldn't see them. Looking up, there were still tens of people in front of them. They guessed that their results should be enough to pass the test, so they didn't have the mood to continue. How many steps have we walked? Fatty Chu panted. Almost 6,000. Sima Yulin replied. How do you know? Every 1,000 steps, there will be a small word on the stone steps. There was this? Fatty Chu didn't notice, but he didn't think that they would walk until now. Tuoba Han said before that the best result in 10,000 years was 8,000 steps. Their result was considered not bad. Furthermore, they didn't use any external help. They just relied on the spirit energy in their bodies. Do we continue? Ouyang Fei asked. There are so many people in front. We won't be too conspicuous if we continue walking. Sima Yuran said. We can continue walking. Sima Yu agreed. So everyone continued to walk up and pass those people. However, Sima Yulu and Sima Yuming couldn't walk anymore when they reached 7,000. After that, Sima Yu Chi and Fatty Chu stopped at 7,500. Sima Yu and the others looked ahead. There were only a few people left. Among them were Tuoba Han, Song Lang Li and the girl at the beginning. They had all passed 8,000 steps. It was better than the previous best result. Let's stop here. Sima Yu said when they were close to 8,000. Brother, we can still walk. Why don't we? Little Two asked. Sima Yu patted Little Two's head. saying, "If we walk further than them, we will be noticed more than others. They will know that we are talented and won't let us grow. They will think that we are a threat. Even if we want to leave, we can come back when no one is around." Little Two understands. Little Two nodded. "Then let's go down." Bei Gong Tang also agreed and suggested, "No rush. We can take a look." Sima Yu looked at the silhouettes of those people. "They are the best in our generation. We can see how far they can go." In the end, an unknown man stopped at 9,000 steps. The girl stopped at 9,200. Tuoba Han stopped at 9,300. Song Lang Li stopped at 9,500. They were only 500 steps away from Heavenly Tower. His eyes flashed with unwillingness, but he couldn't walk anymore. After they gave up, a silver light flashed and the four of them disappeared from the stairs. "Let's go back," Sima Yu said and prepared to go down the mountain. Suddenly, she felt something in her interspatial ring. She took it out and saw that it was Emperor Qingdao's Heaven's Halberd. After Heaven's Halberd came out, she couldn't control it. It flashed up the mountain and disappeared into the pavilion. Chapter 548. Seeing this unforeseen event, everyone was stunned. Read the latest chapter first. Yue, what's going on? Sima Yue was also shocked. Because this item belonged to Emperor Qingdao, she took the time to refine it. The so-called refinement was actually to imprint one's own brand on the spirit artifact so that the spirit artifact would listen to one's command. Logically speaking, Heaven's Halberd had already been refined by her, so it should be under her control. Such a situation shouldn't have happened. "Brother!" Little Two pulled Sima Yue's clothes and pulled her back from her shock. Sima Yue looked at the loft at the top of the mountain and said, "Something must have attracted it." "But haven't you already refined it?" Sima Yuming said. Sima Yue said, "This can only mean that there's something up there that's more attractive to it and it's not under my control." "Then what do we do now?" Fatty Chu asked. That thing had gone to Heavenspan Tower and was at the top of the mountain. They had no way of getting it back. Sima Yue could feel that Heaven's Halberd was very excited. It was just a broken divine weapon without a weapon spirit, but now it seemed to have a life of its own. There were still 2,000 stone steps, but very few people were able to climb them. A gust of wind blew, and some of the thick clouds were blown away. The people at the foot of the mountain could be vaguely seen. "Let's go down first," Sima Yue said. "That Heaven's Halberd." Sima Yue looked back at the top of the mountain and said, "I will find time to take it back." In any case, no one would be able to enter if he left it there, so it would be fine for the time being. Hearing her say this, everyone went down. Strangely enough, going up took a lot of effort, but going down didn't feel any pressure at all. It was very easy. Not only that, but they also felt that the spiritual energy in their bodies was somewhat active and restless. The further down they went, the stranger Sima Yulin's expression became. When there were 2,000 steps left, he stopped and said, "I can't control it anymore. I'm going to advance in rank." Everyone was stunned. Although they also had the feeling of advancing, it wasn't to the point where they couldn't control it. Seeing that Sima Yulin had already sat down, Sima Yu sighed, saying, "Then let's rank up here. We will protect him." It was a taboo to be interrupted during one's advancement. Once interrupted, one would lose the opportunity to advance and suffer a backlash, making it difficult for one to advance again. Therefore, most people would find a safe place to advance. Very few people would advance in public like this. Fortunately, there weren't many people below. Those who didn't meet the requirements and were eliminated had already been sent away. Now, there were only 100 or 200 people below. Moreover, some of the 100 or so people were also meditating and cultivating, as if they were trying to comprehend something. Therefore, not many people noticed the situation on the stairs. An hour later, the light of advancement enveloped Sima Yulin, and he successfully advanced to the intermediate Divine King rank. After their advancement, they quickly returned to the foot of the mountain. The figure of the tutor appeared again. After their previous experience, they knew that this should be his projection. Congratulations to everyone for becoming a new student of the sect. That silhouette looked at everyone present. When he saw Sima Yu, his gaze lingered for a second before sweeping over the others. In a moment, there will be people who will bring you into the sect. You have to think of a way to get your first mission from them. I hope that you will be able to pass smoothly. After speaking, the figure faded and disappeared. The students waited where they were for a while. After a while, a group of people flew over on cranes. Sima Yu estimated that there were about 60 to 70 people. You will be divided into groups of 5 to 6. I will give you 1 minute. Once you are in your group, line up here. A young man on the crane said to the people below. Sima Yu and the others quickly divided into groups. Sima Yu Ming and his brothers and Sima Yu Lin were in one group. Sima Yu, Wei Ziqi and Little Tu were in another group. After confirming the number of people, they gathered at the designated location. In less than a minute, the 100 people were divided into 30 groups. Now, each group will get on a crane. That person instructed again. Since they did not know each other, Sima Yu and the others casually got on a crane. There was a man and a woman on the crane. When they saw them get on, they said, "Sit tight." Then they flew away with them. 30 over cranes flew in different directions. Thinking that they were already students of the sect, they were all extremely excited. The crane took them and disappeared very quickly. When they could not see anyone else, the man on the crane said, "Do you know where you are now?" Sima Yu and the others shook their heads. This place is no longer within the boundaries of the sect. It is half a day away from the place where you report to the sect. It is just the time that the cranes can reach. The cranes only listen to us. The man explained. So, Ouyang Fei crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the two of them. The two of them saw that Sima Yu and the others did not act according to their plan and said angrily, "If you are unable to report to the place on time, you will also lose the right to become a student of the sect. If you can please us, we will bring you there. If you delay any longer, I'm afraid that you will not dare to return." "If we please you, will we have to give you something?" Fatty Chu asked. The man and woman gave them a look that said, "At least you know what's good for you." "And if we don't?" Wei Ziqi asked. "Then we will not bring you back. You have to think carefully. Other than the cranes, you have no way of knowing where the sect is." Sima Yu laughed. "That means that you do not know either." "Of course we know, but you do not. So if you know what's good for you, you should hurry up and show your filial piety to us." The woman threatened. "Since the cranes know, wouldn't it be the same without you?" "The cranes only listen to us. Without us, you can forget about going back." The woman said. "Is that so? Then let's try." After Sima Yu finished speaking, she gave everyone a look and suddenly threw the two of them out. The cranes did not fly high and the two of them could fly on their own. Sima Yu was naturally not afraid of them falling to their deaths. "Let's go, flying crane. Bring us to the place where we report to the sect. You know where it is, right?" Sima Yu said as she patted the crane's shoulder lightly. Little Rock's aura was silently emitted. The crane that originally wanted to throw Sima Yu and the others down calmed down and brought them to the designated place. The man and woman who were kicked down originally wanted to see the scene of Sima Yu and the others being thrown down by the crane. However, they did not expect the crane to obediently fly away with them. When Sima Yu and the others arrived at the place to report, they realized that the others had already arrived. Beside them were the students from before. However, some of them had bruises on their faces while others were very pleased. It seemed that everyone's methods were not all very gentle. Chapter 549. Book title, Chapter Unexpected Choice. Author. At this moment, almost everyone else had arrived. The teachers and students were standing in the huge square. Everyone was surprised to see Sima Yu's flying crane without the two students from before. "Where are the people who brought you here?" Someone couldn't help but ask. "They said they had something to do, so they couldn't come with us. They asked Fei He to bring us here," Sima Yu said calmly. The mentors who had already received the news couldn't help but twitch when they heard what they said. They had just received news that they didn't discuss it with them at all. They directly threw the people down and came back on the flying crane. Although cranes were generally not controlled by outsiders, they knew that she had the king of the rocks, so it was not surprising that the cranes would bring them here. However, those two students didn't really want to take advantage of the situation. It was just an arrangement by the academy to understand the character of the academy. The others either accepted the threat and took out something to bribe the students, or used their powerful strength to beat up the other party and force them to bring them here. They were the only team that didn't compromise or go berserk. Everyone be quiet. The instructor on the podium coughed and said, "Now that you are all our students, please calculate the content you want to learn. We will assign you to different classes according to your situation. Now, come over here, number 1. The order was based on the time they came back. Therefore, Sima Yue and the rest were at the end. The first person went up. The instructor looked at him and asked, "Name, what do you want to learn? What skills does he have?" "My name is Wang Mang. I don't know anything about alchemy, nor do I want to learn it. I just want to improve my strength," the man replied. "That's the spiritual energy department." The tutor gave him a sign and said, "Go over there and wait." Behind the teacher, there was a sign with the words, "Spirit Energy Academy," written on it. The student took his sign and walked over. Then the second one, the third one, Sima Yu Lin and the others didn't return much earlier than Sima Yu Yu and the others, so their ranking was rather low. "What's your name? What do you study?" Sima Yu Lin wants to learn arrays. After the teacher finished writing, he looked at him and saw that he was together with Sima Yue. His performance in the first round of assessment was not bad, and he had also reached the highest point on the heavenly stairway. The vice principal said that the few of them could still go up, but they stopped. He didn't know what kind of results they would get if they continued. Just based on how high they were on the heavenly staircase, they would receive special training from the sect. As such, he handed Sima Yulin a token and pointed to another empty space, saying, "Go there and wait." Sima Yulin took his token and went to the place that the tutor had designated. Sima Yuming and the other 3 did the same. After that, more than 10 people stood in the area where Sima Yulin and the others were. Sima Yu took a look and saw that they were all people who had climbed higher on the heavenly stairway. Finally, it was Sima Yu's turn. The tutor suppressed his excitement and asked, "Name, what do you want to learn?" "Sima Yue, I want to learn medical skills," Sima Yue replied. "What?" The tutor raised his head in shock and looked at Sima Yue, saying, "Student, are you sure that you want to learn medical skills?" Sima Yue didn't know why the tutor was so excited, but she still nodded, saying, "That's right, I want to learn medical skills and become a doctor." This student, our sect's alchemy and arrays are very powerful, and we have very powerful tutors. However, medical skills are much weaker in comparison. Do you want to reconsider? The tutor looked at Sima Yue as if she was a good seedling. Sima Yue shook her head, saying, "Thank you for your advice, teacher. I only want to learn medical skills." "Are you sure?" The tutor looked at her bitterly. "I'm sure." "Sigh, all right. Then go over there and join them." The tutor handed her a token with a pained expression. The others were shocked when they saw that she had chosen medical skills, especially Tuoba Yen Air and the others who had seen her arrays and knew how powerful they were. They originally thought that she would choose to continue learning arrays, but they didn't expect her to choose medical skills. Medical skills were the least outstanding of all the major professions, and could even be said to have the lowest status in the entire school. They also had the least number of students, and even had the least amount of teaching resources. Therefore, her choice of medical skills was a shock to everyone. "All right, now someone will bring you to your living quarters. They will explain some things about the school, where you can go, where you can't go, where you need to pay attention to. They will tell you everything. The first week is your free time, and classes will begin after a week. All right, you can all go now." The tutor hurriedly left after he finished speaking. He had to tell the vice principal that Sima Yue had chosen medical skills. A few students came up and brought them to their living quarters. The spiritual power faculty had the most people, 110 out of the 172 students were from this faculty. The other faculties added up to only 62 people. The student who brought them back told them about the things they needed to pay attention to in the school, and then left without looking back. Sima Yue originally thought that she would live separately from everyone, but when she went there, she found out that the spiritual power faculty had their own living quarters, while the professions lived together. 6 of them lived in a courtyard, and they could choose their own dormitory mates. As a result, Sima Yue and the other 5 lived together, and Sima Yulin was also included. Sima Yuming and the other 3 brothers lived together with little Tu and another person. Sima Yue and the others looked at their own courtyard, and subconsciously compared it to the previous school. They found that this courtyard was bigger, and the scenery was more beautiful. I never thought that there would be a day when we would be students again. Bei Gong Tang sighed. Our age in the primordial lands is about the same as a few years old child. It's nothing special for us to come to the school again. Sima Yue said, we've been constantly on the move, dealing with all kinds of things, and rarely had time to cultivate. Now that we've more or less settled our affairs, we can cultivate here and increase our strength. Now that Bei Gong Tang and the others' affairs were settled, all that was left was to heal her brother, and wait until she had the strength to take revenge. Now that they had the chance to enter the school, they could stop and cultivate. Yu, what about your heaven's halberd? Sima Yulin asked. Don't we have some free time? I've already memorized the spatial coordinates, so I'll go back tonight and climb the heavenly stairway again. I'll see if I can think of a way to get my heaven's halberd back. Chapter 550. They all believed that Sima Yue had made her own decision, so they did not say anything more. After that, they each chose a house. Sima Yue did not have time to tidy up her room, so she ate a pill and began to recover her mental strength. These few days on the heavenly stairs, her mental state had always been in a tense state. After coming down, she was taken away without any rest. Now, she had to quickly recover her strength. She originally wanted to rest in the Spirit Pagoda, but she was not familiar with this place and did not know how many experts there were. If she was discovered by others, then it would be troublesome. In the latter half of the night, she greeted Wei Ziqi and the rest, and set up a teleportation array in the courtyard. I don't know how many days I will be gone this time. If I am not back by the time classes start, help me apply for leave. After saying that, she stepped into the teleportation array. After a while, at the foot of the heavenly stairs, a space opened up, and Sima Yue walked out from it. Now, she was used to setting up short-distance teleportation arrays, and the location of the exit was just a little above the ground. This place was not as lively as it was a few days ago, and the towering mountain peak seemed especially cold and cheerless in the night. Standing here once again, she thought of the time when she walked up, and did not know if she could reach the top. She lifted her foot and stepped on the stone steps, and the familiar pressure pressed down on her, but it did not hinder her footsteps. She did not even start to use her spiritual energy, and purely relied on the strength of her body to resist the pressure. When she reached the 1,000th step, she felt a little tired, and started to use the spiritual energy in her body to resist. After adjusting her breathing, she continued to walk up. Night turned into day, and day turned into night again. The higher she went, the slower she walked. However, after 2 days, she reached the place where she stopped. There were still 2,000 steps left. She raised her head and looked at the stone steps, ate some pills, and continued to walk. What she did not know was that after she disappeared into the clouds, 2 figures appeared at the foot of the mountain. Vice Principal, how did you know she would come here? The teacher in charge of recruitment asked. Intuition. Vice Principal said, looking at the person in the clouds with a thoughtful look. He didn't expect that something that had been on top for so many years would actually have a reaction. This caused the 2 old men in the distance to react and ask him what was going on. In view of the fact that they had tied him up in the academy all these years while they went out to have fun, he was very kind and didn't say anything to them. Am I that easy to enslave? You want to know the reason? Then come back by yourself. I wonder if she can walk to the top of the mountain. 9,000? He was still short of 1,000. Sima Yue felt more and more pressure. She needed a long time to prepare for every step she took. Sometimes, she could not even lift her foot for half an hour. Seeing her walk higher and higher, the two people below also became a little nervous. Could she become the person who reached the top again after that person? It took her a week to climb the last 1,000 steps, but she managed to clench her teeth and succeed. After stepping onto the last step, the pressure on her body instantly disappeared. That instant feeling of relaxation almost made her lose her balance and fall down the stone steps. She took out a healing pill and swallowed it. All the bones in her body ached faintly. If it wasn't for Qi Yan refining her body twice, she was afraid that it would not be as simple as just pain. Facing Tong Tian Pavilion, she was not in a hurry to go in. Instead, she sat on the last step and began to recuperate and recover her strength. No one knew what the inside of Tong Tian Pavilion was like. She had to maintain a good state to go in. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would not be able to deal with any dangers. While she was resting, the vice principal and the recruitment teacher left quietly. Before disappearing, the vice principal said, "Go back and make arrangements for her not attending class on time." "Yes," the recruitment teacher replied. One day later, Sima Yue pushed open the door of Tong Tian Pavilion. To her surprise, there was nothing in the pavilion except for her Heaven's halberd that was attracted here. "There's nothing here. Why is Heaven's halberd here?" She walked towards Heaven's halberd and grabbed it in her hand. It was restless in her hand, but it did not fly out again. Sigh. A soft sigh suddenly sounded in the room, startling her. But when she looked carefully, there was no one. However, she did hear a sound and felt the air flow in the pavilion. This was definitely not a hallucination. The Heaven's halberd in her hand became even more agitated. Sima Yue could no longer hold it and let it go. The moment Heaven's halberd left, she was startled. Was this guy going to run away again? If it ran away, where would she find it? She turned around and did not see Heaven's halberd fly out of the pavilion. But she was still startled. Who was this man with Heaven's halberd? When did he appear here? Also, he clearly did not have any life force. Could he be like Mo Sha, a spirit? But he was not transparent either. He did not seem like a spirit. "Who are you?" She calmed herself down and asked. Actually, when she saw Heaven's halberd lying quietly in that person's hand, she already had her own guesses. But this guess was subconsciously rejected by her. She felt that if her guess was true, it would be too terrifying. But the other person's next words confirmed her guess. "Even if I told you my name, you wouldn't know it." But later on, people called me Emperor Qin Dao. That handsome man said, "You're really Emperor Qin Dao?" Sima Yue was extremely shocked. Didn't they say that Emperor Qin Dao had disappeared a long time ago? How could he be here? Could it be that he had lived for such a long time and had always been hiding here? Seeing her doubts, the other person smiled and said, "I'm also not him." "Didn't you feel that I had no life force?" Emperor Qin Dao smiled and said, "How did you know?" "My thoughts." Sima Yue did not finish speaking before stopping. If the other person had really reached the legendary level, reading people's thoughts was not impossible. The other person smiled and shook his head, saying, "I said I'm not him because I'm only a spirit that he left behind." Spirit? Sima Yue looked at the other person's body and thought of the spirit that Feng Zhixing and the others left behind in her body. This was clearly not on the same level. "That's right, I'm only a spirit." The other person nodded with certainty. "How could you be here? Where did Emperor Qin Dao himself go?" She could not suppress the curiosity in her heart and asked. The other person seemed to be a little confused. After a while, he said, "I don't know about his matters after I left him. As for why I'm here, it's because I'm waiting for you. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.